now. Holy shit, folks.
I always remind people, I am suspended for life for minor hockey.
It's my duty to please the booty.
Did you catch a rattlesnake and then drive home with it in your car holding it the whole time?
Yep.
Phil only drinks Coke. He doesn't drink water. I'll fucking quit.
Fugazis.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 446 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here on the Barstool Sports podcast family. Well, gang, the stage is finally set. The Stanley Cup final kicks off this weekend. The boys can't wait. Sounds like a road trip might be in the offing, but first, we check in with the boys, as always, across the pond. Our man, the merman, Matt Murley. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, guys? I got a great story to tell you here. I went to a pretty cool thing today. I was telling on Game Notes or on this last time, I was telling you how I was on the live stream. I was telling you how I was a soccer player when I was a kid, and there's this new team starting up here in Sundsvall. It's basically just a bunch of old retired guys like bartenders, and they started building this team. And today, Alex Steen, that Alex Steen, the Stanley Cup champion from the St. Louis Blues, suited up for them. So we went down, watched the game. There ended up being like 200 people at this. This is like the 5th or 6th division in Sweden, like just beer. It's basically beer league, organized beer league. And Alex Steen was out there playing. So it was pretty funny to see him out there.
I remember at training camp with the Blues, he wore Manchester City socks like when he skated.
Hardcore.
Like, he was Man City guy, rocking the baby blue socks under his wheels. So makes sense. He's now gone to a second career of beer league soccer.
He was good. He was playing defense, but it was so funny to see the size of his like lower body compared to real soccer players. Like his legs are just tree trunks, and then soccer players were just so.
They're
thin.
like F1 drivers.
Yeah,
They're built like jockeys.
I always thought they kind of had monster quads though from all their running.
Yeah, more so calves. They're like deer.
Yeah.
They just move.
You could tell a big difference to the hockey player compared to the rest of these guys.
Remember how he used to ride that old school Monarch bark?
He did, the blue and white one that you had to turn the thing to get the attention.
Those are the old ones you'd get on the road. Like
He'd
when
be
you're
doing
in
like
America.
45 minutes before practice and then hitting it after. I'm like, what's going on? Biz and I are going to get a sub.
It would be on the lightest one, and like the lactic acid buildup you'd get just from riding on the weakest turn.
Yeah, and in the collective bargaining agreement, you had to put like 2 in there for the road team, and they'd give you like one that worked and one with like out a seat and no rope on the wheel.
The belt was just shot.
There's guys waiting in line just to ride the bike before warm up.
That's the Wit Dog, Ryan Whitney. You're up next. What's going on with you, big guy?
Not much. Not much at all. It was, I think I mentioned last show, the wife was she was in Costa Rica with my sister-in-law, my brother's wife. They went away. They left Thursday morning at 6 a.m. It's Monday right now at 11 p.m. They're not back. So can you imagine the Wit Dog himself with the 2 kids for 5 days? It's been a grind. I'm now sick. I'm now tired. I'm just straight up exhausted. But it was a great time. I just kept saying, it's the boys. It's the boys weekend. So I go, Wyatt saying, it's the boys weekend. So it was good. And then what did we do Saturday night? Well, actually, today, Brian Yandel of Rink Shrinks, one of my closest friends, he turns 40 today. So Saturday, we went out for a dinner, just your standard 5 o'clock Chinese food dinner with about 15, 20 people. Went back, and the Celtics was on. That was a big game, and I kind of was just watching Game 5 of Dallas Vegas on the phone a little bit. But it was overall a good weekend. I mean, I'll tell you right now, all you stay-at-home moms, all you dads, it's an absolute grind. It is something else. They don't stop. They got that dog in them when they're really young, when they're hungry, when they're sad, when they're tired, when they're happy. It's just go, 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 go. And I'm a hurting unit, boys. I'm not going to lie.
I was thinking that on my hike today to come in with, because you're the only guy, well, other than Merles. I didn't know Merles was going to be hopping on tonight, but just like the Mother's Day just passed, giving a thank to all the people who do that nonstop. And then
it's crazy.
And then as far as your 3-4 days, like what was it like? What did you do to keep them occupied?
Well, luckily the weather was amazing, so a lot of swimming. Swimming crushes the kids, right? They're just gassed after
They're
that.
all logged by the end of the night.
And then the golf club nearby, that pool opened up this week, so went over there one of the days, and there's bubble hockey, and Ryder's a bubble hockey fanatic. He sits out there for 2.5 hours just playing
Merle's
bubble
licking
hockey.
his chops.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
Coming
I
for
got to
my
get this
title?
guy in against Merle's. Merle's will beat him 20-0. He won't let up on the kid. But no, it was just a chill weekend. She said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I'm like, "I'm dropping the Ryder off at school, and I'm going to the golf course, directly to the golf course. So get that involved tomorrow." But I'm sick right now, boys. I'm just grinding through this. I got to be honest with you. I'm happy the Stanley Cup's final is set, because we would have come on and done another little show post Game 7, I think. But now we're ready to go. I mean, what a layoff it's going to be for the Panthers.
Perfect time to get sick right before Lauderdale and Vegas.
Exactly. That's what I need.
Wait, I'm not a big reboot guy, but I would personally finance a reboot of Mr. Mom just to watch you do that for a weekend. So there's a lot of comedy going on.
Oh,
I crush
just
it.
give me the doorbell cam. That's all I need.
The trick is that whenever the wife calls, like, "How's it going?" You're like, "Unbelievable. This is easy. This is absolutely nothing." Because then they have to say the same thing. Like, why is it easy for me if it's not easy for you? Meanwhile, I'm like running around, like no shirt on one guy, shit coming out of the other guy's cornhole. It's just like,
Oh no, Merles, could you imagine two boys?
Oof, I got the one girl. She's a handful already. I got one on the way, and I actually had to do my double duty. It was Mother's Day in Sweden yesterday, so you get hit double over here.
No,
I was running around pretty good yesterday.
They're worth it.
It's worth it. It's worth it. And when she's pregnant, you really got to put on a show.
Next up, Paul Biznasty Bissonant. How we doing, my friend? Getting ready for a little TNT call coming soon or what?
Very excited. It was nice to get the layoff too, though, to recharge the battery. I don't want to say it too loud because I don't want to get another debate started. I had a couple good hikes, couple really, really good hikes.
boy.
I think there's war right now between the granola community and Ryan Whitney. And
What do you
also
mean?
Kobe.
I've gotten nothing from them. They've laid down their
nothing?
swords. Or I'm sorry, they've laid down
You
their
know what?
walking sticks.
You know what? They're not as vicious as other people. So they've just been sliding in my DMs, being like, "Those guys sure were wrong." And then
Yeah,
you
it's
send
all
me
about
that.
peace and love and walking on a path.
Hey, then you send me that clip of that guy imitating
Oh, that was
white
so
people
funny.
on hikes. There's a
Oh, for
viral
peop-
clip.
Hi.
Have you seen it? Have you seen it already?
I
Hilarious.
sent it to the group.
Hi.
I sent it to the group. The big chicklets group. It popped up and I was dying laughing. The guy's just like, what is the caption? White people walking, and he's just like, "Hi."
No,
Hi.
every white person
Hi.
when they hike, and it's like every person that goes by, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing?"
Is that like spot on, Biz? Like people just like
Oh,
quietly saying
Yeah,
it?
it's Biz.
Nose on the head. That's what unless the guy's telling me to wash my hands and I'm threatening his life, it's mostly positive. Yeah. Just the nice hellos in different tones. And sometimes when you're towards the end, you're like, "Hey guys," the deep, heavy breathing hello. But other than that, the only other crazy thing I did between now and then is I think it was between games 3 and 4 in Atlanta. One of the people from TNT set up this Porsche experience, and I got to thank a guy named Scott Baker, who he works for Porsche, and we got to go do one of those driving experiences there. Where in some cases, when you purchase your Porsche or Porsche, it's two syllables. My apologies. You can have it sent there, and they can teach you more hands-on how to drive it properly, like how you can push it, like where to brake. Where to slow down in order to make your turns. They put you on like a
Where
part
to
of this.
break?
Yeah, like because we were going through this like mini racetrack, but you're not racing. You're just doing it from a performance perspective. Where if you were on like an F1 track, and in some cases you have the ones
right?
where it really dips in. In other cases, you have the long straightaway to where you can boot it, but then gain all your speed towards the right, and then brake, and then turn left. So they just taught you how to drive a proper sports car, along with going to these different areas where you could practice on how to drift. Then they would let you gun it out of like a dead stop, and then where to brake to just see how fast you could get it going. So it had all these different little things associated to it, along with someone you teaching how to drive it properly, which I'm not a big race car guy. I would have never known how to do it otherwise. But I do love Porsches. So I got to do the whole experience, and it was super cool. It got us out of the hotel. And then I learned that Hank is actually sponsored by Porsche back in Sweden. So every summer he goes back, he gets one of these cars where he can get to go drive. So to make a cool guy even cooler. So I just want to thank everybody there. And it was a cool experience that we got to do. And I don't know if you guys have ever done any professional driving of that sort.
I actually saw the video. There was a video of it. I saw you on there. That was pretty cool. I did it once in Slovakia. We did same type of thing it was the same exact thing as you. Like you could go and they taught you how to, like, if you hit the water, how to like spin out of it and drive and stuff. It was pretty cool.
And then what was the other thing? Oh, then they put us in this new Porsche, which was an electric one called the Taycan, and it's 750 horsepower electric vehicle. So it's the only electric vehicle ever created to where it will gear up. You don't do it, like it doesn't have the shifting, but it will actually change gears, where all the other ones, it's just one gear and it accelerates. So I don't know. I found that to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if it was stick shift or the automatic transmission. And I know they kind of have like an in-between one too, right? It's not completely one or the other. You can hit like a button and it jumps into another gear.
And then it goes to gas?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Not necessarily the electric, but we're blowing the fuck out of people. Let's bring in producer Mikey Grinelli. Mikey, the game just ended. Our schedule is TBA, if I'm not mistaken, right, buddy?
Yeah. It's been a crazy weekend. You know what I mean? Just like trying to talk to different bars, change the flights, different hotels, just trying to figure out where we're gonna go. But the only problem is there was 3 different cities up until tonight.
Guys, before we go any further, it's Pink Whitney time. It's time to talk about the drink of the summer, the drink of the season, the pink juice, the birdie juice. Mix it with a little water, mix it with a little soda water, mix it with an energy drink. That's my trick, guys. I talked about this last week. You hammer the energy drink in a nice heavy pour of Pink Whitney, and you're buzzing around. You're either playing golf well, you're playing with your kids well, you're doing it all at an extra level with the Pink Whitney and the energy drink. That's my choice, but you can mix it with anything. And when you get outside with your friends and you're looking to enjoy yourselves, now is the time to go grab a bottle, go grab a nip. The big-ass bottles are here, and they're here to stay. Pink Whitney's where it's at. No matter what you're doing, get involved. Have yourself a nice drink. Feel the buzz, feel the energy, and have a great time. Pink Whitney, thanks for representing us.
Now we know where we're going. Just don't know when. And boys, this game 7, we were hoping for at least a decent game. Unfortunately, Dallas got fucking dummied absolutely by Vegas. A 6-0 victory. The Cup is going to open Saturday night in Sin City.
Game 6, all right.
I'm sorry, Game 6. It's been one of those nights, man. Game 6, I know, they didn't force Game 7. We were hoping for a Game 7. That's what I should have said. Either way, man, Dallas just outright dummied the whole game. Vegas took it to them straight up. I mean, how bad was Dallas tonight? And why did they not have any good game? They got Ben back in the lineup. Why were they so putrid?
Merles might have been dead on with not putting Ben back in the lineup. They had the 2-game winner. It's the captain, and I kind of scoffed at the idea. I think Biz chirped him too. But that was just... I don't want to say it was all Dallas playing horrific. Like, Vegas came out. They were on their toes. I mean, I think they have 14 shots, like 15 minutes through the first period. It was just domination. But the effort Dallas gave there was shocking to say the least. And even though they came back and made it a series, when I look back on it, I mean, they pretty much just got rolled. I know they won 2 in a row. The one was an overtime win, right? And then the Game 5 win, a deflection goal late with 9 minutes to go. They end up taking it 4-2. But when they lost, they got smacked, right? And then they got their 2 close wins. Vegas was just a much bigger, better, deeper team. I think looking at Dallas, I think they need help on D a little bit, right? Ryan Suter had a tough series. He's getting older. Hakanpää's he's a big guy, but the feet don't move great. And, obviously Heiskanen we've talked enough about, but even Esa Lindell, he saved the goal tonight. He ended up taking the penalty. That was a good play, but I think Dallas just isn't where Vegas is right now. No. And I look at the effort by Vegas, and even in Game 5, Adin Hill. I mean, the fact they lost, Adin Hill was unreal. So they got this goalie buzzing now. Eichel didn't score a goal in the series, guys, right? And they got it done in 6. So it just shows the depth. Marchessault has just been so key. I would say he's there. I almost think he's ahead of Eichel in the Conn Smythe race for Vegas.
No kidding, because the goal scoring.
Yeah, it's just like, I know the first round he didn't do anything. He just has taken off since. His clutch goal after clutch goal. I know it's close, and Eichel's been unreal, but Dallas just laid an absolute stinker out there tonight. I was shocked because I thought at least if they didn't force a game 7, I thought it'd be a really tight game. They finally found something, but it just wasn't meant to be.
No, tough ride for Pavelski too. I was thinking of him as a loss, just a warrior. He went down with injury early in that first series. I mean, I think it's hard, right? You always go to the guys who are making the big bucks when they don't show up in the big games. And I felt that early on when Pavelski did go down, Seguin did a good job of scoring some big goals in that first round against Minnesota, but ultimately didn't really feel like he did a lot this series. And then you go back to the Ben. I mean, we hadn't even recorded since Ben did what he did, right? And that was a big time costly mistake. And you talk about laying 2 stinkers at home, like 2 games they were just flat out fucking brutal on home ice. And not only Ben to take that penalty, but you think coming back, considering Robertson had then elevated his play, where I think he had half the goals of their whole entire team in this series. So he finally came, and I felt it was just maybe Ben and Seguin's time to rise up and have a big game 6, but they obviously just kind of fell short. And overall, I have to agree with you. Compared to Vegas, their back end just seems a lot thinner. Goaltending definitely put a big Band-Aid on some of those big holes that they do have. But coming in, I was a little nervous for Vegas, given those numbers through later in the round for Ottinger come this playoffs.
Yeah, games 5 through 7.
Where he seemed to get better, especially from a stats perspective, RA. But that fourth line, I've been harping about them this whole playoff, especially Kolesar. They hadn't really found a way to chip in. And then you go back to the game before where they finally got some depth scoring for Dallas to get them over the hump there with Dellandrea getting those 2. And I feel like, something to be said about playing good hockey and wearing teams down, Merles. But at a certain point, you got to cash in. And for them to get 2 in that first period to really take a lot of pressure off the high-end guys for the Golden Knights was huge. And I feel like they were finally rewarded where they've been buzzing all playoff long.
Yeah, that's what Whit talked about, Marchie being in the Conn Smythe. I got Carlson on the radar. He shows up again, another one of the misfits. He gets 2 goals tonight. And my biggest thing with Vegas, they look like big boys out there. They all got their beards out there. They're all big. They're all thick. You're playing in these long series. That wears on you time after time. Dallas D. Suter was brutal. He was brutal. I don't think I've seen a D have that bad of a series.
Like he's messing up.
And on the other side of it, this Harley kid looks pretty good that they got. He's another first rounder. And, shout out to Dallas. I think they got a great young team.
Oh, yeah.
I would look at their assistant GM or their director of scouting or something if I was running a team with all these young draft picks that turn out. But to move on to Vegas, I love this team. I love the Barbashev trade they made.
Oh,
that's a guy
he's a tank.
How about the
is
passing
perfect.
too? Passing ability on him. I'm like, Jesus, I didn't even know how good he was.
I don't think he did.
Yeah.
I don't even think
I think he's
did.
like, I just got to run guys over. And then all of a sudden he's like, wait a minute, I'm making some plays here.
He probably
Give me
put
a
another
chance.
he put another 15, 20 million in his pocket with this run. Somebody's going to sign him to like a 5x5 where I thought, what was he making coming into this year?
Give it a quick look.
question.
Is Peter Chiarelli around?
I only remembered him in St. Louis hitting people. Like, that's what I remembered as Barbashev, and I kind of liked, all right, they're bringing in this guy that just runs people through the glass, but now he's scoring too. So, yeah, he is got to be on everybody's radar. If you're Toronto, if you're New Jersey, if you're a team that needs a little grit next year's playoffs, you got to give him.
Was he the one who
deal.
caved Gerard's his chest in last year in playoffs? Was he the one who got him in the second round?
Yeah, you might be right on that.
He's like a Sam Bennett with the hits. Maybe not as crazy as Bennett. We'll get to him later. But what do we got, G?
Making
He was on a-
2.25.
Yeah, he's on a 2-year contract,
he's making
2.25.
easy after this.
They picked him up for Zach Dean, who I believe is kind of an organizational depth guy. So huge move right there. But we're going to wrap up the series as well. Biz, like that, going back to the Ben thing, the Ben penalty. Like, how does something like that get handled in the room when it's your captain who does something like really dumb, really stupid that really hurts the team? Does it get addressed if the player brings up? Is nothing said? Like, does it depend on the guy? How does that all go? Like, in the room, talk much?
I don't know. I don't know because it seemed like he was out of the rink pretty quick after that game where he didn't answer to the media, which I thought was a little bit bizarre. And hey, listen, I've never been in a situation where I'm making what he makes and a captain. So his accomplishments speak for themselves, and the amount of respect that he has in that locker room is sky high. It was just a dumb brain fart at the wrong time. And I thought from a leadership perspective, he might have handled it the wrong way, where I would have liked to have seen him talk to the media. And then after that, he basically didn't take the blame for it, where he said he fell on top of him. Did you read those
His
quotes?
press
Whit?
conference the next day was bizarre.
Yeah.
Which made it even worse that he waited the day, got to think about it, and then he comes in with the fucking Pinocchio.
Imagine what he would have said the night of the game.
Now I wish we could go back and allow him to. Fuck, I mean, we got enough drama going on, but RA, I was very impressed with the rest of the group being able to carve out 2 wins after that situation. I still think it would have been you can't treat a guy who has that much respect in your captain to where you go back to Merle's analogy of sitting him. I think you probably create a lot more chaos by sitting him than not. But I don't mind the accountability play, Merles. But if you're telling me if you're DeBoer and you're in your first year there that you would have would have sat him, like would you have had the balls to do it?
I don't know if I would have had the balls to do it, but I'm just like, you don't change the winning lineup, and we saw it with Boston. Yeah. But then on the other side of it, like everybody's been talking how they want to get rid of these Ben and Sagan contracts. Maybe you do sit them there, and then Ben is like, all right, trade me, I want out of here, and he lifts his no trade.
Could you imagine Merle's in the coach's office? He's got his feet on the desk as Ben walks in. He's like, hey, Rule 43 EBR, buddy. It's out of my hands, pal. Hey, and you know what? It serves that. You know how much energy they brought in those 2 home losses? As about as much as the Glass Banger brought to the Game Notes podcast. I haven't even listened to it, but I heard it was horrific. And then he goes on to put the Biz Sucks sign on the glass. I was pumping his tires. The fuck's his problem with? Were you on? Did you hear?
He's the guy who bangs on the fucking glass at hockey games. Like,
we gave him his opportunity to shine, and he just kiboshed it.
Hey, how about Merle's? Did anyone have the bingo card of Merle's saying that Patrice Bergeron and Jamie Benn should be scratched before the playoffs again? Merle's called for the health bombs of 2 legendary captains, but the other thing about Dallas, man, Sagan makes $10 million for 4 more seasons with a no move clause.
Agents,
that is, and you know what? He's had so many injuries. You're just never going to be the same after you've dealt with like big time career changing injuries, and it's just now you're like, oh my god, $10 million a year for 4 more years. I didn't even notice him in that series.
And maybe he's
invisible.
Maybe he's banged up again. But Merles, I want to say you touched on it, and maybe even you with their future. So they got Hintz locked in at 8, which helps those big contracts because to me that's a huge bargain at $8 million. You have this Wyatt Johnson kid coming up. You got some other good young pieces in Robertson, Heiskanen, and Ottinger. So that drafting and developing has saved them a little bit, along with some of these other young guys that we saw in the lineup. So, but at the end of the day, those ones are going to be tough, especially for another 4. What does Ben have?
Got it right here. Jamie Benn, after this year, he's got 1 more year at 9.5. I'm sorry, 2 more years at 9.5. So he's got.
I thought it was longer.
Yeah, no, he's got next year and the year after at 9.5 each. And
there's no way we see a Suter and Parise type situation, right? There's no way these guys would get bought out.
Oof, I don't know.
I still feel like they're bringing enough.
That's a huge payment on those buyouts. I don't know. That's a great question, though. That would seem like with the cap not going up, like what they thought maybe earlier this year or last year, what it would be next year. I don't know. But
did we get to the ricochet shot?
Yeah, I mean they won both games without Ben, and then like Sagan didn't do anything. Like they did fine without both of them. So just take the suck, and I'm sure you drafted a couple other studs like you did with these other guys.
Merles, I mean, obviously disappointing year for the team and fans. The future is bright, but what do you think they need going forward? Just a little bit of tinkering? I mean, they don't need any major moves here going forward, would you say?
Yeah, I would just agree with Whit. Maybe grab a couple D, a little, replace Suter maybe with a tougher D, your bigger D. You're playing against Vegas. You got to know who you're going to be beating. You got to play against. You're going to be playing against Colorado, Edmonton, and Vegas for the next 5 years. So try to get something to match up against those guys.
And Biz has thrown all his Bruce Cassidy cards away. wicked ricochet shot at your boys after was it Game 5. He said, we have 24 giveaways. I'm not sure you're beating the Arizona Coyotes in January with 24 giveaways. That's no disrespect to Arizona, but it's not the right way to play after completely disrespecting them. I mean, that was fucking pretty harsh to just take a wicked shot like that.
No, I love his bluntness. When he gets interviewed on the bench, even during periods sometimes, I think he's a riot. And I'm not sure what he's doing with his hair, but it always looks like he's about half in the bag and he was in a dark bar and all of a sudden they flick the lights on and they shove a mic in his face and start asking him questions about the game. Does he not look like he's all out of whack sometimes, but then his brashness comes off as he's answering these questions?
Yeah, he's a unique guy, I'd say. He's got a little uniqueness to him. Wait, I want to ask you on that goal. Obviously, it's sort of a moot point now that Vegas has moved on, but Aiden Hill was great all night. Then he gives up that one goal. Now, the way Pietrangelo played that, like, what does a goalie tell a defenseman in that situation? Because it looked like it hit his stick and then kind of flooded by him. It looked like a bad goal when you initially saw it, but, you know, when you saw the replay, Pietrangelo, he got a stick on there.
Yeah, this is Game 5 you're talking on the winner. I heard a lot of people saying kind of get the stick just out of the way, and I understand because in terms of a wrist shot, maybe there's, 3 to 5 guys who are really going to have a chance to legit score without a screen that far out. But just naturally as a D-man, I mean, way more often than what happens there, way more often you get the stick out, it hits the stick, goes out of play, and it's a nice defensive play, block shot. That just happened to be a brutal break. I mean, I guess the argument would be if he's outside the dots like that and he's got a wrist shot going, just let him shoot it. But I just think naturally, like subconsciously as a D-man, you're just going stick to puck, and it was just a shitty break. I mean, it did right away look like he let in a stinker, and then you saw right away it was enough to just make it a change up a little bit. And goalies are so fucked there. Their angles are so like predetermined that if any sort of slight deflection, it just completely throws everything off. So I didn't blame Petro. I actually think it's just natural to get in there. It was just more than anything shitty luck.
Yeah, and more times than not, like you said, you're breaking that up. And could you imagine the D just skating backwards and not just taking his stick out of the way? Then as a fan, what are you going to say? Fucking do something.
Block the shot.
All you're doing is setting the screen, you donkey. Get the fuck out of the way. So, yeah, you got to go stick on puck there. And especially with Petro's reach, it seemed like a sinker where it just ended up going beneath his, or I think it hit the top of his pad, didn't it? So it was it was a CNI shot. What were you going to do, right?
You guys just mentioned Pavelski. We do got to give him some flowers here, though, as well. I mean, he had his 18th playoff game winner, ties Rocket Richard on the all-time list, the most by a U.S.-born player, and only 4 guys have more, Brett Hull, Wayne Gretzky, Joe Sakic, and Claude Lemieux. And, of course, 73 playoff goals, the most among active players. But I guess he had a little chat with Ty Dellandrea between games. Because, he took a couple of bad penalties, and then he was scratched during the season. He went over, gave him a pep talk, and said, keep your head in it and just, your turn will come. Then he, had that big game with the 2 goals. Again, obviously, they've been knocked out since. But, Pavelski getting up there, man. But that's incredible to think that he's that high up on the list. How many years do you think he has left in him, Biz? Like, I know he's got a couple more years on his deal.
I mean, when people are so smart the way that he plays and they make their money around the net, I don't think skating becomes that big of an issue. So I could see 2 more solid years in him. And it's one of those stories. It's kind of like Joe Thornton. You just hope he finds a place where he can go win a Stanley Cup. And I believe he has 1 more year left with Dallas. So, I mean, depending on what happens next year, maybe if they're not in the mix again, maybe it's a deadline move. But definitely a guy that you want to see hoist the Stanley Cup. But to also talk about nice gestures, didn't Seguin also do something with his wife? They bought tickets for fans. So a lot of nice gestures.
Yeah, a little kid was, I think he set up a candy stand or a lemonade stand or something to raise some dough. And his mom said she was going to make up the difference after what he raised it. And she tagged a couple guys in Instagram, and Tyler Seguin said, "What's your Venmo?" And he sent it through his girlfriend's Venmo and took care of their tickets. So yeah, that was a nice gesture he made. Always appreciate when those guys do those type of things. As far as a coaching perspective, did you feel like any guy like that? What's his name? DeBoer got outcoached. That was just a matter of the team just get done by I think
Vegas is just a better team. I think they're just more well-rounded, and I like DeBoer as a coach. I mean, we've kind of talked about what he's done these first years on all these new teams. It shows that he could take different groups, different style teams, and make them successful. But he just ran into what seems like a juggernaut. And I think this Cup final is going to be amazing. I do.
Oh yeah.
because they really do like match up pretty well. They both bully teams, and now like they're meeting each other. But I don't at all look at it like Cassidy completely outcoached DeBoer. I mean, he lost his captain for basically 3 games, considering it was 3 minutes into game 3. So no, I don't put any of that on the coaching, and it's weird. I mean, the first round, Ottinger was incredible, but after that, he did have times where he really struggled. It wasn't necessarily like consistently good goaltending. So when he was on, it was amazing, and then these nights he just took off. It was getting a little ugly for Dallas.
Yeah, to that point, they used them a ton down the stretch. The last goalie to appear in 60-plus regular season games in win the Cup was Marc-Andre Fleury way back in 2009, 62. And Ottinger had played 80 games in total between the regular season and postseason. So no matter how good you are, man, that's a lot of wear and tear. It's going to catch up on you at some point. Sorry, Biz, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask Merles, what do you think they do with Max Domi? I thought he was a great addition and really, really came to play in big moments for Dallas.
Yeah, I liked him. I think he should get some offers from some other teams too that need to add that. That's the kind of guy you need in playoffs. He plays with a little edge on him, but he can still chip in the scoring. What was he playing? Probably third line center there. That's a good third line center on most teams. You see Vegas, Carlson's their third line center. So that's what kind of depth you need to win. And yeah, I liked his game this playoffs. And but I don't know why he just seems to always keep getting 1-year deals. He was kind of like me in Europe. I always just bounced around 1-year deals.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this year he might get a longer one.
Yeah, he was good in the playoffs. $3 million when he signed with Chicago last year before getting dealt. So, all right, boys. Any final thoughts on Dallas, Vegas, anything before we head over to the Eastern Conference?
I would just shout out Kelly McCrimmon again, Vegas GM, Aiden Hill. Aiden Hill, he got for a 4th-round pick. We talked about Barbashev. He has the moves to pull off getting Eichel and all these other guys get him there. So shout out to him. Unreal.
That was
job.
going to be what I was going to say for the Cup preview is just the ballsy moves that both organizations have made, specifically Vegas, and I would say probably a pretty scrutinized brass for getting rid of Flower the way they did, losing Pacioretty for nothing. You just mentioned the big Eichel trade. Like, remember they went out and got Stone and what they gave up to get him, and then signed him to a huge deal. Getting Petro as a free agent. So they've made some enormous moves and to shift this team around, as well as keeping the misfits and obviously the right ones because of how much they've contributed. It's the amount of points that they've got. I want to say they've played in 82 or 83 playoff games now since that team came into existence, as far as Carlson, Marchessault, and I don't know if McNabb has played every game too. And Smith, where I don't think either of them have missed a playoff game.
Oh.
And then on top of that, what they've done with it too.
Like, how did that guy get hurt for 1 game?
It's remarkable. So just great job by the brass there, as well as Florida. But we're going to get to that. We still haven't even talked about Carolina and I guess the 5-game sweep, as Rob Brindamore has described.
They didn't get swept.
Yeah. All right. Before we go any further, here's a word from our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. Created by fans for fans, Game Time is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, shows, and more. And they guarantee the lowest price. What's up next? Stanley Cup Final, gang. Listen, if you're in the city, if you're going to fly to the city, make sure you go to Game Time. They get the lowest prices on the internet, and boom, it happens instantly. It's possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found there on seats you thought you could never buy. The best part, the purchase process takes 2 taps in 10 seconds. Boom, you're donezo. Once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone, no printer needed, and the app also allows you to easily share tickets with friends so you can get the game seamlessly. Game Time is the best for this, so skip the hassle, enjoy the moment. Download the Game Time app or go to the website, enter your email, and redeem the code Chiclets for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but if you're heading to the Cup or if you're heading to Bruce or Guns N' Roses or anybody else this summer or winter, use Game Time. Once again, download the Game Time app, redeem the code Chiclets, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. A little later, actually, we haven't mentioned that interview. After we talk about the Eastern Conference, we got Marty St. Louis coming to you. We talked to him a few years ago. I think me and Grinelli interviewed him 4 or 5 years ago, but got some great stuff coming. He's obviously been a coach since then, so stick around for that. But yeah, Florida sweeps Carolina. They return to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in 27 years. And I mean, Matthew Tkachuk, he's already building like an origin story of a folk hero in Florida already. Scores a go-ahead power play goal at 5 seconds left to beat Carolina. They got the sweep. He had the 2 overtime game winners. This kid has just brought it to another level. I think the interview with you guys on TNT, he was like perfect in that whole thing. Just unreal coming out for this kid right now. Let's get your impressions on Florida Biz and the whole series, and what are you thinking with them?
Matthew Tkachuk was remarkable. Another guy that just around the net, he just finds a way to get it done. He's just slippery. He's a gamer. We keep using the term dragging his team into the fight. You saw the games 3 and 4. In game 3, I think it was 29 seconds in. He's already starting a scrum with Brent Burns. I think he got sticked in the nuts in that one. Game 4, I think it was 8 seconds in, where he's just finding a way to get in the other team's head and rising to every moment when he has to and embracing every single fucking second of it. He's doing every Sportsnet. He's doing, I don't know if TSN's even there. He's doing TSN. He's doing ESPN. He's doing whatever interviews he needs to do post-game in order to grow the game of hockey and talk about this incredible fucking run that they're on. And then on top of that, going to the NBA on TNT, which was another remarkable interview with Charles. And I mean, Shaq said he doesn't watch hockey. I thought that moment was pretty funny, but another 6 or 7 moments of incredible television where he's talking about this historic run and how magical it's been. And Walt should be so pumped as a father to see how well of a job he's done raising his kid to not only thrive in this moment, but the way that he's conducting himself in these interviews. It's like WWE-esque. After he scores that winner with 5 seconds left to go on his knees, and kind of reminds me of Whit McDavid last year after they eliminated Calgary, where he ended up going to center ice on his knees. So it's just a magical run. And I don't think we're going to truly see how much this is going to do for hockey in the United States and that market specifically till years to come, regardless of whether they win it or not. But it's such just a magical story of them getting in late and the management staying patient with the group that they assembled, along with all these other, you can use the word misfits too. Talked about a couple guys on the back end who were claimed off waivers, a couple other guys up front that were kind of just, left as scraps. For Hagee, he couldn't fit in Tampa. He's a 40 goal scorer. So just so many incredible stories, and led by, of course, of Matthew Tkachuk rocking the elbow room, where Merles is going to be donating his liver during the Stanley Cup Finals.
Interesting. I said it on the stream the other night. The last guy in Florida to score a semifinal clinch a goal for Florida, his cousin Tommy Fitz, way back in '96. So that's pretty interesting little nugget. 27 years later, Cousins scored the 2 goals that sent him to the Cup. Whit, I want to go to you on the clinch a goal there. Did you see any goalie interference with Bennett's stick, or did you think it was fine the way it went, or what?
I think it was the right call. I did, from behind the goalie, once you saw the stick get in between his legs, I kind of thought there was a chance it may come back. But like looking at how the play developed, like right after that, I don't think it affected Anderson at all in terms of making the save. And it was also just such a poised move for Tkachuk, just that split second to just get him leaning even more. It was a beautiful goal. What pissed me off as a fan of the game is the call on Jordan Stahl is just brutal. It just, like a veteran like that at that time of the game, I don't know. It wasn't like he was saving them from getting a scoring chance. It was kind of a nothing play that I don't think really should have decided that series. Now, granted, Florida deserved to win. And I also want to go into Brind'Amour. It was very funny. Understandably, like their season just ended. Like they're not thinking clearly, but like he's like, we didn't get swept. It's 4-0. But he totally just didn't word what he was saying, right? I tweeted out it was the closest sweep in hockey history. A 4-overtime game, another overtime game, a game ending with 5 seconds to go. Like it was just Florida was earning their breaks and their bounces, and they had Bobrovsky, or as Charles called him, Babotchka. I think he called him Sergei Babotchka. It was hilarious, but it was. I think
he was thinking of Serge Ibaka, who played for the Toronto Raptors.
I think he was too. That was the one thought, the name that came to my mind, but. The top end talent just it's not really close on those two teams. I mean, people have come at me, said I'm wrong on that. I don't know, man. Like, I'm looking at a couple forwards on Florida, and you got Aho on the other side with the injuries to Svechnikov and Pacioretty. So Carolina gave it their all. It's just crazy to think they're 0-12 in their last 12 conference final games, and Florida just kind of pretty much like willed themselves to win these games. I mean, they have. It's just, we could talk about it in the preview, but this break is a little scary as a Panther, if you're a Panthers fan, in my mind.
Merles, I would say that every time you looked, it seemed like Florida was just getting the call, whether it was the call or the bounce. And I'm not blaming. I think they deserve to win, like worst case gentleman's sweep in 5 games. But you mentioned the stall penalty where at the end of the game prior, Gostisbehere gets high sticked in the face. I know that he sold it a little bit, but he did get hit in the face. Just like the little calls, and we had Cooper on the panel in game 2, and he said, when we won our cups, you remember throughout the course of a run, all those little breaks seem to always go your way. And that's the way I felt for Carolina. And that's why I had pain and sympathy for Rod after losing his last 12 fucking games in Eastern Conference Finals where he sounded like I did describing my Porsche experience. Like he
wasn't there for the.
Yeah, I was to say we don't want to bury Rod too much. One of those series is way back in 2009.
Okay, so the last 2 he hasn't, correct?
Right.
Okay, so
yeah.
I mean, he was just lost for everything. There was a couple of times I remember him trying to like plead with the refs, and he just was a defeated man. He's like, I can't get through to these guys.
Well, he's bitching about Tkachuk. There was a soundbite that came out. He's just like, what? He could do it at one end, and we can't do it at the other. And it's like, oh, Tkachuk, he's just tearing their team apart, man.
Yeah, exactly. Merles, to you on business question.
Yeah, I mean, I agreed with the stall call was horrible. You can't call that on the team that's down 3-0, 200 feet from the other end. And they took some bad calls, but as my mom always told me, hockey is a lot of skill, but it's a lot of luck too. So you need to get lucky. Those refs miss that call. They see that call. It's just that kind of stuff. But I had one more thing. I wanted to add a little nugget to your Tom Fitzgerald nugget, RA. His son, Casey Fitzgerald's part of the Panthers. And I'm not sure if he's staying with Tkachuk or not, but I saw a little segment on them. They're at Tkachuk's house. They're playing mini putt. They're playing darts outside. They're in shorts. They're barefoot. Like Tkachuk is he's so happy to be in Florida, and that's showing in his game. And just wanted to add that to it.
Him and Big Walter RPSing for the big bed.
You said you were concerned about the layoff. If they were hanging out with Walt the entire time, I'm going to say Vegas and 4.
They might not even show up.
They might just stay at the elbow room, drinks on us. And it's hard, right? From that perspective, this will be the second longest layoff for a team, which the most ever was 11 days. This will be 10 days. So I'm not saying every guy, but there's some young guys on the team, and all of a sudden you have these days off where you have Memorial Day weekend to worry about, and you're in Fort Lauderdale. I'm sure there's a couple texts coming your way where you have to stay very, very disciplined not to get roped into semantics, especially with that long layoff, and also staying game shape, game ready. So that a lot of the onus is on Florida. And just the way that a few of these videos have leaked of Paul Maurice addressing his team, there was one pretty cool one saying like, when you look back, this will be the most fun moment, one of the most fun moments of your life, like embrace it and enjoy it now. I'm pretty sure these guys could put it on ice for 10 days until after the big dance where they're able to celebrate big time. So I was
talking to a guy who played for Maurice and said he's the best motivator he's ever had by far.
Really?
Said getting you ready to play and getting you fired up to play is like no coach he's ever had.
He looks like a genius now, the way he walked away from Winnipeg. And he did it in a classy manner, saying, I think that my message here is just falling on deaf ears. And he ends up a year later getting to go to a place where they seem to absolutely love it and they're enjoying every second of it. It's a remarkable story through and through, all the way from management to coaching to personnel. It's amazing, RA.
Yeah, I wanted to add one more thing on Maurice before we move on. I watched an interview on him too, and he was right away giving credit to all his other coaches. Like he started coaching when he was 28 years old, which was crazy to hear, and he never played hockey. And he's like, I have a D coach, Sylvain Lefebvre, that played defense. So he tells the defense how to play. I have my forward coach. He tells them how to play forward. I have my goalie coach that tells the goalie how to play goalie. I put my guys, I tell them where they need to be, but they teach them how to do it because they're hockey players. And he gave them all the credit in the world as assistants. So that's another way he motivates his assistants to play, to work harder and stuff. So
he's
really
like, come to think of it, I don't do a fucking thing around here. It's awesome.
Delegated.
This is awesome.
I actually have our trainer Teddy that writes up the lines. I literally
He makes
do
the
nothing.
plays.
I just golf. Me and MJ just golf every day together.
Biz, just going back to that layoff we were talking about. Back 03, Mighty Ducks, they had an 11-day layoff. They lost game 1, ended up losing the series. Of course, it did go 7. 06 Oilers, they had a 9-day layoff. They lost game 1, lost the series. Another one that went 7. 07 Senators, 9-day layoff, lost first game, smoked in the series as well. Let's see, the Bruins in 2019, 11-day layoff. They won game 1, ended up losing the series in 7. But 22 Avalanche, a 9-day layoff. They won first game in OT, did win the series. So I don't think it's something that's trends or anything streaky about it. It's just the team. But what would you rather? Would you rather the rest if guys are banged up, or the sort of rhythm that they get in?
If they could have chose, they would have played. I seriously think 2 days
Right after?
later.
I think
they have
Vegas'
something so
situation's perfect. Don't you think Vegas' situation's perfect where they get 5 days till the first game starts, where they get a little bit of rest, get a couple practice days, and then jump into it?
Yeah. But I seriously, when did Florida win? What night was that?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. I think if you said, hey, we start this thing Saturday, they would have been like, perfect. Because it's just, there's something about this, like the vibe where the teams around each other so often. And granted, they're at the rink every day throughout this layoff, but it's just like you're preparing for battle, and then all of a sudden it's there, and then it's the day off, and then you're back there doing it again, and everything just changes. So, like, a guy like Bobrovsky, like, who knows, right? I mean, it's such a long break. I don't think all of a sudden he's not going to play well, but it's definitely something where you were in some sort of rhythm and it's all over.
But yeah, I would agree with Whit. Like especially Florida, the way that team has it. It's not like Colorado last year where they're just a wagon of a team. They're an awesome team. Let's take the rest. We got some. Florida's a team that's just running with this momentum.
Mojo.
Yeah. So I would want them to keep going.
All right. I was going to say I would have really enjoyed the rest all 10 days, especially if Vegas would have went to 7 games or either team would have advanced after playing 7 games, because then they would be exhausted, where the momentum of that series probably would have been okay for them game 1. But I really feel that fatigue would have taken over, where all of a sudden after game 1, I really would have viewed Florida having the advantage. That's a lot more hockey to play with little rest, where now I feel that Vegas is really in a perfect situation, where it's not too much to get you out of rhythm, but it's enough to rest some sore muscles and get the guys you need to get healthy. But that also plays into the fact that they play all of their guys. They play their fourth line like a couple minutes less than their top 3 lines, along with how you just talked about their center ice. Like I thought Chandler Stevenson was their third line center, but you're saying it's Carlson, but like, and then you got Eichel as number 1. Does it fucking matter? That's like having two line center on any team in the league at this point. Like Stevenson has been a massive surprise, an incredible skater. Carlson, anywhere you look, even on the defensive side of the puck, he's been everywhere. It's a very remarkable. I think the smart money in that series would probably be on Vegas, but I'm with Merles on this whole mojo thing. I feel like that's something that's very difficult to disrupt, and I feel like this rest won't be the biggest factor as much as people think.
Yeah, and like this game 6 was almost like a walkthrough. It wasn't like they had to battle hard to get this win. They didn't have to go to overtime. If there was guys banged up, I didn't really watch at the end. They could sit them for the third period. Just it was like a walkthrough, just staying in the rhythm of it. So the old rest versus rust argument will be on firsthand here. Part of my take guys will love that. So I don't know, but I'm looking here. Yeah, I guess Stevenson probably. He played with Stone, so yeah, like you said, they're second or third. It doesn't really matter. But
one of my questions to you guys was going to be like, what does Carolina do from here? Because as frustrating that is to get swept, they were in every game. You wonder, if we have Svechnikov and Pacioretty, how much more competitive are we? But I still feel if they have those guys, they need a few more game breakers. And you go back to the age-old argument about Aho. I just feel like in that series, and you keep talking about every time you get to the Final Four, how hard is it to get inside the house? You're always playing against these big, burly defensive teams where they just own you up on the inside. And it was hard for Aho to get in there. Like, as much as I love him and as much respect as I have for him from a 200-foot game, as far as how much he brings it in these very difficult moments, we joked around on the Game Notes podcast about every time I looked at the television, the guy had a bloody mouth on him the entire playoff long. But at the end of the day, you need bigger guys, and you need bigger guys who are game breakers. You look at Florida's lineup, as much as we didn't trust them earlier in the season and how we thought they were going to be a bubble team, Duclair had 30 goals last year. RA, you thought that they had a chance. Let me correct myself. You thought that they had a chance. But Reinhart, I consider to be a game breaker. He was a goal scorer in Buffalo. Same with, we already talked about Verhaeghe. Bennett, I think people forget about his stats sometimes, but also what that hit, we haven't talked about it, the hit that he put on Slavin, that was the knockout punch. That's when you knew that series was getting wrapped up that night. And the fear that he puts into opponents, I date it back. Like, who hits like that? I could only think of the Rafi Torres hit on Hossa was the last time I saw a hit where a guy got thudded like that and he was out before he hit the ground.
I'm glad you brought that up, Biz. I mean, how much does that affect the bench during a big game like that? Like, do guys just compartmentalize that to later, or does it like actually have an effect that their play might be affected by it?
I have all the respect in the world for Carolina and the way that they handle themselves the entire series. I felt like a lot of weight was put on Slavin and Burns in this one. And credit to Florida, it seemed like they did take advantage of those guys when they were out there. If you go back and look at the tape, I think the mishandled penalty kill where Slavin gets his stick caught and Burns. Game one, they were the D-men on the ice where they did go out for that stick poke. And I forget who, I think it was Chuck in game one, but also that Reinhart power play goal in the 1-0 game, they were on the ice for penalty killing. But Slavin, he's a clock muncher. He makes it very hard on opposing forwards. I felt that just completely took the wind out of their sails. That is a devastating blow, RA. And then later in the game, Nason got hurt. He came back, but then left again. And he's like, if you want to talk game breakers, he's kind of one of the few that they had on that Carolina team. So just overall, nothing was going their way. And that Bennett blow was a series-ending hit. And I feel terrible for Slavin. He's a gamer. He's a clean player. Did he win a Lady Byng, or he was nominated for one?
Definitely been nominated a few times. I'm not sure if he actually won.
I don't think people understand how hard it is to shut down the best forwards in the world night in and night out and not take minors. Going back a couple of years ago, I think he had one or maybe two minors. This whole season, I think he had 8 penalty minutes, so 4 minors. He's a remarkable player, and that was such a difficult loss for them to come back into that game.
As for your Carolina question, Biz, I think they just got to do some tinkering. I mean, I'm looking at the roster here. They're losing mostly veterans unrestricted this year. Calvin DeHaan, Shane Gostisbehere, Derek Stepan, Paul Stastny, their captain, Jordan Stahl's not signed. So they're basically losing a lot of veterans who are going UFA, which they, of course, can't bring back. But I don't think they're certainly not blow it up or whatever. I mean, they can go out and get themselves a number one goalie, because right now the only goalie they have signed is the rookie, Peter Kochetkov, who they called up a few times during the year. And he was really good, I thought, the games they brought him up. So I don't know. I think they're still at the table. They just got to kind of make the right moves general manager-wise. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're still knocking on the door the next few years.
They got to go take a stab at a few big free agents. They got to reward that core group at some point by going out and stacking up their lineup.
Yeah.
I don't even think there's a ton of like game-breaking free agents. That's the thing.
I was just gonna say that. Like there's no. I have a list here, and there is no big ones, because now everybody's wrapped up these young guys.
Is Ryan Reeves not available?
They get
I got these guys, the Sportsnet list on the top UFAs. Number 1, Orlov. 2, O'Reilly. 3, Kane. 4, Dumba. 5, Tarasenko. 6, Bergeron. 7, Bertuzzi. That'd be a good one. Killorn, Bunting, Gottesfear, Domi,
Bertuzzi would be an incredible ad. I would offer him a boatload. That's a big body. It would bode well. Then you got Svechnikov, so you have a few big playoff type forwards. But I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to touch in on with with Carolina, Whit, but it's a tough story. Out in 4.
Okay, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at The Score. Hello, Canada. This episode is brought to you by The Score Bet Sportsbook and Casino. The Score Bet is the best sportsbook for the hockey obsessed. With a wide variety of markets and daily specials from us here at Spittin Chiclets, it's got you covered for everything on the ice. So, if you're in Ontario only, download the Score Bet app and create an account today. You can build and follow your bets directly from the Score Sports app for the best possible experience. With the playoff push in full steam right now, you don't want to miss anything. And the Score Bet also has you covered for all your other favorite sports and players as well. Plus, there's a ton of iCasino games any day, anytime. That's the Score Bet. Download today and see how the best sports app, period, does sports betting. Please play responsibly. 18 plus. Ontario only. Gambling problem? Call Connex Ontario at 1-866-531-2600.
Yeah. Outclassed. They ran into a juggernaut who's just gelled at the perfect time. I mean, they went to 7 with Boston, and then they've just trucked through everyone else. So, I don't know. When you have a goalie that you can't score on who's just kicking like this, and then some of the most clutch playoff hockey we've seen in Matthew Tkachuk, along with all the other characters you just listed on Florida, it's they really had no chance looking back. I picked the Canes, of course.
Pretty gutsy performance from Barkov, too, after going out in Game 3. And I feel like the Tkachuk pickup really helps him just have to worry about playing his game and maybe not so much be the vocal leader, which I think that they've been a nice compliment to one another. And then you see him; he ended up assisting on the first goal in Game 4, and then the last one over to Tkachuk. So not only playing banged up, playing well 200 feet, but setting up the first and then the game winner. Very, very impressive, gutsy playoff performance from Barkov.
Back to Chuck Biz. He's got 130 points in his first season with Florida, regular season and playoffs combined. Only Wayne Gretzky and Teemu Selanne have had more in their first season with the franchise. Wayne had 140 with the 79-80 Oilers and then the 88-89 Kings. Teemu had 138 his first year with the Jets, but that's a pretty impressive company to be in your first season with a team. Also, Bobrovsky set a record for the most saves in a 4-game sweep with 168. They started counting him back in 1956. He passed J.S. Jaguar back in 03 and Hasek in 99. And since the Panthers went down 3-1 to the Bruins, they're 11-1, 12-4 overall as they've knocked out the top 3 seeds in the East. Just impressive as hell what they're doing. I don't know if it's impressive as Brady Tkachuk drinking out of that trophy there in the suite that night, gassing about 17 beers.
Oh, my God. Who was the other guy other than Gretzky you said had the most impact in the first season with the team?
Teemu Selanne with the 92-93
Because that was going to be a question I had for you guys. When have we seen a situation where you get this surprise trade where that one player becomes such an impact that it completely changes the face of an organization? Which I guess the answer, what's that?
Joe Thornton comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. But no cup, but still, I hear where you're coming from.
But I was wondering if that trophy just happened to be in the suite or if, like, what's his name? Kepka brought it in with him. You know what I mean?
What?
Was it next to a traffic cone? When Brady gassed the beers out of the trophy, I was wondering if it just happened to be sitting in the room. Remember when he had the cone up and he tried to claim he didn't know where it came from when he was, like, trying to make fun of Ekblad?
Yeah, the peas. The peas did it for Kepka. Everything's coming up Kepka.
He's Kepka's a season ticket holder. I heard him on PMT, and he has a suite every game. He's a huge fan. So he's been going, and he cleared up that whole traffic cone thing. He had a huge bet on the visiting teams' total goals, and Ekblad made the mistake on the goal, and he said he was just like buckled, and he didn't mean any.
Happened?
Yeah, he apologized to him. He didn't mean any.
Do you see who was in
will.
his suite in Game 4 when he wasn't blinking? Was the guy who in the Carolina jersey behind their bench during that long overtime game with the Wolf? I don't know if you guys. He was in his suite in Game 4. That's probably why it wasn't blinking.
That was incredible.
What color are your eyes? Black, completely just black all around. Holy shit, they were like sauces. But speaking of Ekblad, I sent the video over to you guys. There were a couple nice little videos out there. Ekblad, he just kind of paused and looked around at the scene. Biz, I don't know if you watched it. There was no audio or nothing. He was just sort of taking it all in. He's been there a long time, and obviously the struggles of Florida are well documented. I thought it was a pretty cool thing. And also, Bill Lindsay was on the NHL Network, and he got really choked up talking about him. Then returning, of course, he was on the team in '96. I don't know. It's pretty good stuff to see guys like soaking in it, enjoying the moment.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. It ignites that last run that they've had, and since then it's been pretty quiet. And they had a lot of magical moments along that run too. And unfortunately, they fell short where they got swept. But that's what makes this cool story of the finals, where you have these two teams in non-traditional markets where they've each had a chance at the dance in very unique seasons. One being the expansion year, and them doing them when they did it in I believe it was '96. So now they're both going to get their redemption. Like, one of these teams is going to be crowned champion for the first time in franchise history, both with these remarkable, unique stories. So I can't wait. I'm extremely excited. Of anything that we probably anticipated coming into the playoffs, I don't think anyone had this one, but all things considered, a very, very pleasant surprise. And I'm very torn, but I don't think we're going to get to our predictions quite yet, right?
Not yet. We're going to go to St. Louis very briefly. We'll get there. Just a couple other notes. Florida has 5 players drafted in the top 5. Ekblad, Stahl, Barkov, Reinhart, and Bennett. Kachuk had gone 6th. Only 2 of them were actually drafted by Florida, Ekblad and Barkov. And Barkov is the first Finland-born captain to lead a team to the Stanley Cup Final. So hats off to Baki on that one. And yeah, boys, I think the folks are ready for Matt in St. Louis. Yeah, let's do it.
This interview is brought to you by CHEVY. You know we've been part of the CHEVY EV family, but we've got big news. The first ever all-electric Silverado is officially Barstool's most valuable truck. We got the chance to see this thing in experience, and let me tell you, it's a game changer. Available 400-mile range, GM estimated on full charge. Over 10 feet of length in the bed with the multi-flex tailgate combined with the multi-flex midgate. A large 17-inch diagonal display screen. It can tow up to 10,000 pounds of max towing. 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds with WOW mode. Up to an impressive 785 foot-pounds of torque. Head over to Chevy.com to learn more.
Well, we're very happy to welcome back our next guest. After 4 years at the University of Vermont, this undrafted forward played over 1,200 combined regular season and playoff games with the Flames, the Lightning, and the Rangers. He led the league in scoring twice, won the Hart and Pearson trophies in 2004, won the 2004 Stanley Cup with Tampa Bay. His number 26 was the first number retired in team history for Tampa Bay. In 2018, he was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame on his first ballot. And these days, he's head coach of the most storied franchise in league history, the Montreal Canadiens. Thanks so much for joining us once again on the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Martin St. Louis. How you been, Marty?
I'm good. Thanks, Ari. Quite the introduction.
Hey, well, buddy, you earned it, my friend. You earned it. Been watching a ton of the playoffs, I assume, given you're coaching a team these days, or what?
Oh, yeah. No, it's been fun to watch. I guess for many years, I've, been away from the game for 7 years. I watched it as a fan. And obviously now you watch it more with a coach's eye a little bit, and it's a lot of fun.
This goes back in time, I guess, because you actually did an interview with Spittin Chiclets, but Biz wasn't there. I wasn't there. It was R.A. and Grinelli asking the hard-hitting questions. And I think R.A. said it was 2017, so coming up on 6 years. Do you remember all that day when they came down?
I do. Yeah. They came to Stamford, I believe, at the Edge Eye office, where I just kind of started a private equity company at the time with a couple buddies, which was a lot of fun. And they had a studio there. And I believe we did it in studio, RA. Am I right?
Yeah, I think we did do it in that studio that day. Yeah.
I'm surprised RA showed up on time. That's amazing.
But I'm going to flip the script here. So how far after that then you guys came along? And how did that all come together?
I think Whit was a part of the squad already because we found it together.
What do you mean you think? You wouldn't have been there with Grinelli had I not been a part of the squad.
Whit was part of the squad, excuse me. He couldn't make that trip that day, but I don't believe Biz had joined us yet. So it was just the three of us at the time, and only me and Grinelli made that trip. And I thought it went pretty good considering that wise ass wasn't with us.
I got picked up off waivers, Martin.
Not the first time.
But what's crazy is back then. I mean, you were retired. You were coaching your kids, and I don't know if I don't know when that ended. I guess right up until when you got hired. But at that time, had you already started thinking about coaching an NHL team?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like in my 30s, I feel like I was already kind of coaching a little bit. Not necessarily like coaching the team. Obviously, I was still playing, but I think about the young guys that came up, the Stamkos in 2008, headman after. Like, I feel like I had like, these guys were highly, first overall, second overall. I started like, kind of teaching. I always enjoyed teaching. I always felt like it was, one of my strengths. And eventually you get the platform when you're in the league for a long time. You become a leader, and the young guys, kind of need that. And I think the most important thing about leadership is to pass it forward. And, for me, it was at that time where I'm like, all right, I got to help these guys. And so I feel like I was, kind of coaching a little bit at that time. And of course, every now and then I go in my coach's office and ask him, give him some ideas and suggestions. They weren't always received.
Like, put me on the power play here. He's like, get the fuck out.
No, but like more like structurally and stuff, and ideas of how to, like make adjustments or whatnot. And so I always felt that that's something I wanted to do. Now, when I retired in 15, I had 3 boys, and they were 12, 10, and 7. And I wasn't going to go from playing to coaching. If I was going to coach, I was going to help my kids. If I was going to help any kids, because at that point at 40, everybody in the league's a kid for me, especially how young the league got. So I just really focused on my kids for a long time, but still like watching a lot of the NHL. I did a half a season with Columbus as a consultant. I think it's in 18, maybe 19. I don't know, maybe 2018 or 19 with Torts called me and asked me to help him with his power play and stuff. So I would go in there every 2-3 weeks for a couple of days, and pick up the phone and talk to their coaches and whatnot. And it was kind of nice to get back in the league a little bit and be part of something. But, I didn't like the fact that I was part-time, and I couldn't like, I didn't want to do it, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I just told Torts that I was just going to stay with my kids. And I always told my wife, like, the only way that I would leave my family a little bit early is if I got a head job in the NHL. And I told her, don't worry, it'll never happen.
Like,
I planted the seed
you're in the
right
Hall
there.
of Fame. It could happen.
No, but
There's a possibility here.
So how did that dream job come about? Like, was it just like, did you, at the time when the job opened up, had you handed in a resume? Did you ask for this meeting? So somebody reached out to you, knowing that you had this professional itch? Did they maybe listen to RA ask that question on that podcast 6 years ago?
Yeah, possibly. Jeff Gordon got hired. I had, played under him in New York my last 2 years. I had a great relationship with him. And he hired Kent Hughes. Kent and I, go way back. Kent was actually, I guess, like 4 or 5 years older than me. He went to Middlebury. I went to Vermont. He used to be like my camp counselor a couple summers at camp back in Montreal. He's from Montreal, so am I. So, we were acquaintances for a long time. We became close friends. He was Vinny's Lecavalier's agent, so I'd see him quite a bit. And when I retired and started coaching my kid, I was coaching against Kent. Kent had coaching the Boston Junior Eagles. I was coaching Mid Fairfield. We play each other all the time. So we spent a lot of time together in hotel lobbies and hotel bars. And both of our boys went to the national team program together. And the boys lived together over there. So, we became really close. And when Kent got the job, he approached me about it. And, it was a great opportunity for me. And honestly, I felt like, it's something I always wanted to do. I felt that, my last, 7-8 years playing, I was already preparing for that without really knowing when that was going to be, coaching the kids. I was still like so valuable, preparing me for what I'm doing now. And probably the biggest thing that I did that helped me, especially in the market that I'm in right now, is when I retired, I started doing a lot of public speaking, talking, with companies, talking to their employees or whatnot about leadership, work ethic. Could be motivational, could be anything. They would steer me in the right direction. Sometimes it was just Q&As. But I became really comfortable. I was, I was always okay in front of the cameras and stuff, but it's different when you're talking to a camera versus talking to an audience, like in an auditorium or whatever. And, like when you're speaking to your team and obviously with, the media that we have in Montreal, it's not 2 or 3 cameras. It's a lot of people in there. I think it prepared me very much. I didn't really know that it would prepare me the way it did, but it was really good for me.
I was just going to ask you about like the patience it probably took to coach your kids and how much that translated over, because I think it's fair to say the players in the NHL not only are younger now, but you have to deal with them in a different way. And given the fact that you've kind of experienced those latter years of, the Tort style coaches and like learning how to communicate with these younger guys, how much did that benefit you hopping into this role? Because even that clip came out of you working with Cole Caulfield and more of from a player development standpoint, like that's got to really resonate with these younger guys.
Yeah, well, again, I really, patience is a big part of it, but, like I always say this, like everything in life has an expiration date, we do, everything. And I think patience has one as well, like to me, and to me, the player's attitude and commitment will dictate how much patience you're going to have with them. But, for me, like looking back at my career, again, I feel like, all my experience really prepared me for the job that I have now, especially how the way the league is now, because I was, obviously I played college, but then I was an American League guy. I was a call-up. I was a guy sitting in the stand in the NHL. Obviously I worked my way to, being a top 6, an all-star, So I feel like for me on my bench with my players, there's not one guy that I don't really understand what he's going through. So I feel like I can help each and every one of them, obviously differently. They all have their own expectation. They all have different type of pressures. But that's probably one of my favorite thing to do is coach the individual, which I think it's a big part. I think if you're able to coach the individual, I think collectively we're all going to benefit from that. But I feel as players in this league, my experience from my time in the NHL, I think the individuals got lost. I think everything was about coaching the team, not the individual. And I think we've taken a huge step in development in many sports, and that's something that I've been very inside of that my last, coaching the kids. And I've done a lot of research and how to, and I've leaned on a lot of people. And, I've never been a guy that knows it all, but I've always been somebody that's willing to find the answers, and the answers are everywhere. But you just gotta, sometimes be patient to find them. And so I would say patience is huge in terms of finding those answers. And it's okay to not have all the answers, but it's a crime if you're not willing to find them.
Marty, was part of you sort of surprised by Montreal actually brought you in just because you had been coaching a kids team before and didn't have professional experience?
Was I surprised? Yeah, I was. But, I wasn't scared or embarrassed or, I didn't come in like selling myself short. How do you measure experience? I said it in my press conference when I took the job. I have a lot of experience on the ice, on the bench, in the locker room, on the bus, on the plane. The only experience I didn't have is behind the bench in the NHL, But, I mean, I know it's crazy because I've been coaching youth until then, but I was behind the bench for 7 years. And to me, like, it's the same. The way you talk to the player, to a 12, 15, 17, I was coaching kids at the end, like, 16-year-olds. Like, it's really the same. You're approaching kids with intentions of getting them better. That's going to help the group, the team. You do it with respect, with intentions. And, that's nothing different. Now, running a bench, yeah, I mean, at first, like, was I the best at it? No, I'm still not the best at it, but, I'm getting better every time. And only the certain situations that come that you learn from, that you makes you grow as a coach. But it's a big part of the game to running a bench. And I feel that I've improved at that, and I'm going to keep improving at that. And I know you don't want guys sitting on the bench too long. And, sometimes it's really hard sometimes when it goes from you go on the power play, then it goes to like a quick, and now it's going to be 4-on-4. And now we're going to be shorthanded. But now we're back 5-on-5, and it's like, oh my gosh. And you're trying to, and the way you play the power play now, every team has 1D, 4 forward. So how are you going to transition out of that? It's fun. The challenges are fun, and it's all about, growing.
I'd have a hard enough time remembering to call the lines, not getting caught watching the play. Does that happen? Be like, coach, who's going? Fuck, I don't know. I'm trying to watch the game here.
Oh yeah, sometimes one of my assistant coach, Trevor Letowski, who's usually next to me, he's like, Marty, who's up? He goes, yeah, gosh, I was being a fan right now.
I was watching the Jumbotron.
Sometimes the games go back and forth, and it's so good, right? And then you're just watching. You're like, oh my God, I forgot to call a line. But the guys are good now. I'm like, who's up? And I was the same as a player. Like, I've had coaches that were just so consumed by what was happening on the ice, and a guy or two like, who's up? And every time you snap out of it and you stop being a fan, you start coaching again. But there's definitely those moments.
Biz and I often talk about kind of the coaching style we grew up with, and you're a little older than us, so you know what I mean. Like, there was a lot of negativity at times, and there was really being hard on players, and the game has certainly changed in coaching, but you're a fiery guy, right? Like, I'm guessing you're talking to guys in a different tone than you were talked to growing up and coached, but are there still times you got to kind of snap on the boys?
I mean, of course there is time, but like, to me, there's plenty of ways to get your message across. If you're constantly firing bullets, you're running out of, you're shooting blanks, so you have to be calculated when you're going to use your bullets, and you shouldn't go right to that as soon as you're upset, right? I mean, I think the most important thing is there's got to be some rationality as to become, way more in front of emotional, because if you just act on emotions, you're going to get tuned out pretty quick, you're going to run out of bullets. So I feel like I'm firm, and I speak with intentions, and when it's not going well, there's times that, we got to reel the group in, but the way the athletes are today, I don't think you have to fire bullets like they used to. I really don't think so. I think for the way I see it as a coach is you have to convince your player why we're doing certain things a certain way. You have to convince them. And I think first and foremost, you got to convince your staff why we're doing this a certain way. You got to convince each other. And then once you do that, then you have to go convince the group, and if we need to make adjustment or we're not getting what we want, we got to convince them to do them better.
Marty, did you always have this fire and this passion for the game of hockey? Did that start at such an early age for you?
The thing I love the most in life is being part of a team. There's nothing better, and I watch you guys from a distance, and you guys have done a tremendous job with what you're doing, and even, you guys do some side stuff too, but you always feel like you guys are part of a team, and it's fun to watch, and that's probably why you've taken it this far too. But there's nothing better than being part of a team. And I guess having a family, it's like that too, right? That's your little team, I grew up, playing soccer and doing so many activities. Obviously, hockey was always the number one sport. Growing up in Quebec, everybody did that. We skated outside. I mean, if I didn't have organized practice, I was out the outdoor rinks all the time. And hockey's been a big part of my life, and I'm pretty sure it'll always be.
When you were a youth, Marty, when did you sort of separate yourself from the pack talent-wise and realize, all right, I'm probably a little bit better than the rest of the guys here?
I don't know. I never, listen, I grew, okay, so my birth year, I'm born in 1975, in my town, Laval, which was a pretty big town just outside Montreal, north of Montreal. And so they split the top teams, the top level was split between the West and the East. And on the West side, it was me, Eric Perrin, who played in the NHL a little bit, and Jocelyn Thibault was my goalie. Now, Jocelyn was a high pick in the first round. Obviously, me and Eric don't get drafted, but we found our way to the NHL. And on the East, it was Alexander Daigle, who was first overall, and Eric Daze, who was a third-round pick by the Blackhawks, who had a short career with his back. But so, I was a good player, but like there was kids better than me, and I wasn't big. I'm still not big, but
The quads got bigger, I bet.
that's thanks to my
Quadzilla over here.
Yeah, thanks to my grandfather. I'm actually tall in my family. Like my grandfather was like 5'5", I think, and my grandmother was 4'10". My mom was 4'11". My dad was 5'6". I'm almost 5'8". I'm a giant when I go back to family reunion. But I think when I ended up going the college route because at the time, early 90s, the NHL was a big man's game, the Lindros era and stuff. So I didn't, I didn't get drafted and I wasn't upset. Like it was like, I thought I was going to play college and probably, best case scenario, go to Europe and play there. But after, my freshman year, I was there as an 18-year-old and led the team in scoring, had a pretty good year at Vermont, and sophomore year even better. And junior year, even better. Like I put up 80-something points in my junior year, and I had offers to sign in the NHL. Then I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this. I feel like to answer your question, RA, like, it was always a progression. It was not like, it was never like, honestly, like, I started separating myself when I got to the NHL more than anything.
Yeah.
And it happened quick, from being a call up to, arriving in Tampa, like, my first game in Tampa, I played a minute 50. my
There's
first
numbers.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, I know. So like my first 100 games in this league was not like, you wouldn't have guessed that I would have the career I did, but all of a sudden something flipped and I got an opportunity and I just ran with it and it happened quick.
So throughout the course of all that, like, were you ever discouraged? You ever feel like you were slapped in the face where you weren't given enough credit based on your accomplishments? Like whether it was in junior or throughout college, like you went undrafted, you went to Calgary camp, and I don't want to say they pigeon tossed you, but you ended up down in the minors, and I don't even think they gave you an NHL deal, correct?
In Calgary?
Yeah. Was it?
I had an NHL deal. I actually played 69 games for Calgary.
Okay.
Over 2 years.
Oh.
But at the end of my yeah, but I mean, I think I scored 3 goals in 69 games. I think a big part.
Like how many minutes were you playing those games, though?
You know what? Like, it's funny because my first NHL game, I was playing with Andrew Castle and Theo Fleury. Okay. And it was actually in Japan, in Tokyo, because there was a 98 Olympics in Nagano. So they were trying to market the game down there. So we went there, us in San Jose, for 2 games. And Theo and Castle had like 6 points each on the weekend. I had nothing, and that was it. and honestly, like I look back on it, and I had the ability to be a good NHL player at that time. Mentally, I wasn't ready. Like I was holding the NHL on such a pedestal that I just kept selling myself short. Like I couldn't believe I was like in the locker room with these guys. I'm like, what am I doing here? Right? Because I'd go down in the minors and I would do whatever I want. I was in the American League. I played like I played in college, and it took me a while to make the jump to the NHL, but it was more mentally. So, was I discouraged at time, Biz? Yeah, of course you are. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and know. You have that moment of that feeling that is real, that you can't help it. You just feel that, but then it's like, okay, like where do you go from there? You feel sorry for yourself, or you get after it and you start working on things that you need to work on. And probably for me at that point, was more mentally than anything. And once I kind of flipped the switch in my mind and had an FU attitude, like, I'm going to show you, like, and it's something my mom always used to tell me when I was young. I was cut from teams, and she was like, don't worry, Marty, you'll show them. And I've said that before on other things, but like, she was a big part of building my confidence, my mom. And at the time, I don't even know if she knows what she was doing. But for me, like, it was never like I got screwed or they don't know what they're doing. He was like, no, don't worry about it. We're going to go have fun. You'll show them. Don't worry, and it just stuck with me.
Yeah, Marty, your first year at Tampa, I think it was first 19 games you hadn't scored, and you realized like coaches had sort of changed the game, and you just had to go back to what you learned. What exactly were they telling you to do versus what you knew, what you had to do?
Well, that's a good question. All right, but I think you guys can attest to that. There's a way, like, you grew up around the game, and it's always about, thinking of the team first and taking care of the team. And you get to a certain level and you get to a certain place and you're like, well, why is the team not taking care of me? I'm doing all the, they asking me to chip pucks out, chip pucks in, but I mean, I'm one game from being out of this league, So I had a moment where I'm like, screw this. I'm just going to go out there and play keep away. And, I ended up scoring my first goal that night, and I just kind of start building my chip count gradually. I didn't have many chips to play with, but I think my second 20 games for Tampa that year, I had 15 points, but I was always like starting on the fourth line and moving up, but it was a flip mentally, and it gets to a certain point in time where, you have, again, we're talking about, coaching the individual, like that's fine. Like, and I feel I had a really good camp in Tampa my first year, all the scrimmages and stuff, but like, that's fine. You want to start me on the fourth line. That's okay. But what's the plan? How do I get to move up? What is the plan? And I think that's what players want. Like, they want to know that you care about them. And because you're going to ask them to take care of the team, but you got to show them that you take care of them as well. And I think in the time that I came in the league, not many guys felt that in the bottom, at the bottom of the barrel.
Marty, we kind of glanced over college. I know you had great numbers there, but you ended up going with your buddy from Laval, Parent, the guy you grew up with. How was that experience? What drew you there? And like, who were your mentors and kind of who taught you how to play at that level? It's
funny because we were recruited by a lot of schools and we narrowed it down to Maine and Vermont. And Maine at the time was Paul Correa was there. He was a freshman. Jim Montgomery's a senior. So I went on a recruiting trip and, had breakfast with Jim and stayed in with Paul Correa on my recruiting trip. Me and Eric did. The Ferraro twins were there too. They were stacked. They won the national championship that year. So, the program was elite, obviously, but it scared me in how much I was going to play right away. It was about 6 hours from Montreal versus Vermont. It was like 2. And I know my mom and dad would get in the car every Friday and drive up. So I drive down. So I picked Vermont for geographically, but also I felt I was going to get more opportunity early. And in terms of over there, like the mentor, like when I got there, Dominic Ducharme was a junior. So me and Dom go way back. So it was sensitive a little bit, right? Dom gets fired and I come in there. It was tough. Dom's a friend of mine, good one. But Dom really took me and Eric under his wing and really showed us the rope at Vermont, especially early on.
You mentioned getting offers after your junior year, but you didn't get any after your senior year. Was it kind of crushing to like stay that extra year and then not have any calls coming in?
Yeah, it was, but it's funny because my senior year, I had more PIMs than points.
So why were you gooning it up?
You gooned it up?
Well, I think it was, 4 years was a long time in that league. And, they weren't really protecting the players. And I'm not going to blame the refs. It was just sometimes the college game, it could be frustrating and there's no like accountability on the ice, there's no fighting and not that I encourage fighting, but I could have used a goon or two to drop the gloves and keep me out of the box. I kind of took the matter in my own hand and started slashing guys, retaliating, and that probably turned some guys that liked me the year before maybe, but I still had a good year. I mean, I had 60 some points, but I had more pimps, which is amazing. Coming from a 3-time Lady Bing.
When you ended up in Tampa that year, Ludzik started as coach, was fired, and Torts came in. Is that what happened?
Correct.
So what was, I mean, you talk about coaches coming in and they sometimes go from good guy to bad guy, good cop to bad cop. I'm imagining Torts back late 90s came in guns a-blazing. And was that something that you guys had a good relationship right off the bat?
Well, I had a decent relationship with him because he was the assistant coach, and I would lean on him and ask him questions, and just to manage my my state of mind at the time, where I was scratch, I was didn't play much, but I finally I think the conversations I had with him, he just pretty much at the time was telling me to keep pushing and stuff that he was trying to push on his end with Steve. When he took the job, I kind of start playing in a third line role. And, the thing about, the thing that what I learned the most in Calgary is I learned to kill penalties in the NHL. Okay. And that was so valuable at the time. Of course, I'm like, I should be on the PP or whatnot, whatever, but they had players that were better than me offensively at that time in Calgary. So they put when I got called up my second year in Calgary, I played 56 games, and I killed every game. And so when I went to Tampa, I didn't play on the power play, but I could kill. So I would get minutes that way. Eventually, and when I fast forward to when I was in my prime, I was doing both. I was penalty killing, and I was playing the power play. I was 5-on-6 at the end of games. 6-on-5, it was so valuable. I learned to play defensive part of the game that I never had to, up to now is so valuable. But to go back to your question, Torch just kind of put me in the third line role, and, every now and then give me a little sniff on the first or second line with Vinny and Brad Richards. And to me, it's at the end of the season, he told me, if you take care of yourself this summer, I'm going to give you a chance in the top 6 next year. It was the first time, that I felt like, wow, somebody who makes decision told me that he believes in me, and he gave me that platform. And I took the ball and I never gave it back.
Marty, you mentioned it helped you, obviously, for guys who are able to penalty kill. You get your legs more underneath you over the course of the game. So I feel like it helps you 5-on-5 to stay into it. You said it helped you defensively. What specifically, better at angling up ice, in the defensive zone, the way you pressure? What specifically did it help you with defensively that transferred to 5-on-5?
Well, to me, it's angling for sure, stealing pucks. Always a good stick on puck, active stick, blocking shots. These are all things that are, you have to do. You've seen in the playoff now. It's, these are things, but when you're, everybody that comes into the league, if you think about it, they're all offensive guys. I grew up in Montreal. Guy Carbonneau was, led the Quebec Major Junior in scoring, and he became a defensive forward in NHL. You have to grab a chair in the league. You don't just think there's going to be a chair for you. You have to try to grab one. And it's not always going to be the chair that you want right away, but you need to make sure you have a chair. So you have to be able to be versatile a little bit and grab a chair, and now maybe better your fate gradually and get to a better chair. But, sometimes if you just want the top chairs, you might never get a chair. So, that's what really, helped me to realize that when I got to Calgary. And I wasn't unhappy in Calgary. I know I scored 3 goals that my second year there. I think I had 18 points in 56 games. I was playing third line, fourth line, killing penalties, 12, sometimes 14, depending. But I had a chair. It was unbelievable. But everybody get fired at the end of the year. And I actually, my offensive game was coming because I was starting to feel better about myself, and I get confident. I started getting used to the NHL, and it's okay. I'm here, supposed to be here. But that feeling of having a chair in the league is unbelievable.
Marty, was there a particular scout with Tampa or somebody with the organization who saw you and say, hey, we got to bring this guy in, or was it sort of a collective effort? How'd you end up in Tampa?
I think it was Duds. Duds had seen Rick Dudley. I say Duds like everybody knows him, but Rick Dudley, he's seen me play in college and in the American League, and and he felt that there was something there, and I owe a lot to Rick, and it's funny because I have kids that they play and they always have. I mean, Whit, you would know that with the the U.S. festival. Now it's in Buffalo. They bring the kids from the same birth year to Buffalo, and and they they're trying to see what's the word I'm looking for?
Combine?
Yeah,
Who's
it's
the best?
Yeah, exactly. Like they're trying to evaluate. They're trying to evaluate the kids. But last summer, so I have an 05. So now he's aged out. This summer he's not going to go because he's an 05. But last summer I go to Buffalo and Duds is watching. Rick Dudley is watching. 16-year-old, but rightfully so because they're 1 year from the draft. These kids are all going to get. A lot of these kids are going to get drafted. So Duds is in Buffalo, and I think Duds live close to Buffalo, so I see him there. And whenever I see him, we chat and. I shook his hand. I'm like, Duds, if it's not for you, I'm probably, I'm never coaching the Canadians, because it starts from, having the career that I had, and I owe a lot to Duds to giving me the opportunity to come to Tampa.
You're part of, that first Stanley Cup win for the Lightning, just an amazing series. The last series before the lockout. It's funny, I was watching clips of the Game 6. You scored double overtime winner. The hockey is crazy. Literally just putting your stick around a guy's waist and pulling him. But I'm kind of digressing here. I'm more asking about, so you guys you're down 3-2, you're going back to Calgary. It goes to double overtime. You end up getting the winner. Do you remember in the room, like, were guys tight? Were they loose? Do you even remember that? Or is it all kind of a blur now looking back?
How many cookies did Andre Waugh have shoved up his ass going in overtime?
I know. That was the prior series against Philly when we lost Game 6 because we were up 3-2 in Philly. I'm sure we can come back to that story. But, in Calgary, we're like, I remember one thing is like out of breath because the elevation. We had oxygen tanks on the bench. It was pretty calm in the locker room as I think everybody was tired, and it was hard. It was a hard game. I mean, if you say you watched it, it was hook and hold, slash, whack. It was war, so between periods, you took that 15 minutes to just kind of like, not much was being said. Everybody was calm, but we had great leaders like, Dave Vanderchuk, Tim Taylor, Freddie Modine, Daryl Sidor came in, like, we had guys that just said the right things, and we played loose. So that's one thing. Like we weren't stressed. Like we played loose, and and Torts allowed us that. He really, his biggest thing with Craig Ramsey was safe as death. So yeah, and that goal, like that was the 5th period starting. That was my first shot on net.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. Torts was all over you probably going into Game 7 had you not got the winner. Somebody else got it. Oh my God. Yeah, it was a great series. And then immediately the hockey changes and you watch the Carolina Edmonton one, the next cup final. It was a different game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. Because we lost the season. They changed the rule and for the better. The game is great right now. I mean, people ask me, would you rather play in this era? To be honest, like I love that hockey before, and I got to play in both. I love that hockey before. I got slashed a ton, but I slash guys too, and I use my stick all the time. I hook guys in their glove, their elbows, like, and it was different when I couldn't use the stick. So no, it was the hockey is great right now.
Didn't Iggy and LeCavalier fight in that series?
Yeah.
What did that do in the locker room? Like, were you guys like, he wasn't known for his fighting. Were you guys joking around? Like,
well, it's funny, like, because if you like YouTube like Vinny fighting, like,
he could chuck him.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and
he's a lefty, isn't he?
I don't think so.
Both ways.
Maybe they were
like
throwing lefts in that fight, actually.
Yeah, I don't think so. But the thing about Vinny, and maybe it was just coming out party in the fighting department, but because for me, I with Torts, I bounce between Richie and Vinny, depending of the matchup and stuff. Like I would. But when I played with Vinny, when Richie got traded, now it was just with Vinny. Like I had a lot of room on the ice with playing with Vinny and it's funny because Vinny was scoring 50, 40, then he'd come back to the bench and like he'd be like, Marty, was it dirty? Did he hit you dirty? Because he didn't quite see it blindside. And, at first I would be honest with him. But if I said yes, the next shift, he's not playing hockey. He's not playing hockey. It didn't matter who. He fought some big boys. It didn't matter who. And then eventually I caught on. I'm like, nah, but then he was tough. And, he was much respect for obviously what he did in scoring goals, but, he wasn't scared. And no, he was awesome.
You're bleeding from the face. He's like, no, I didn't get me.
Nothing.
And one other quick one too is, R.A., you had a nickname that you thought that Andrew Chuck had. Was it Wood?
Yeah, Wood. It was his nickname when he played at Buffalo, and obviously not Tampa.
Had you ever heard of Andrew Chuck being named Wood as a nickname?
No.
Okay. I just had to double check.
I had asked Brad Richards when we talked to him, and he had no clue what I was talking about. And I was like, am I going crazy? But they called him it in Buffalo, and there was an old Sports Illustrated article that literally says Wood in the headline. So I was somewhat vindicated. They just didn't call him it in Tampa.
We haven't been able to get Dave on yet to confirm whether that was his nickname in Buffalo. So I just figured I'd ask you since you played.
He'd be a good one to have.
What? Why is that? Like talk about him. Like he was probably like the other leader in that locker room when you guys won. Was he the captain at the time, or was Vinny?
And he was unbelievable. Like, I don't know. Listen, back then the league was much older. So when you had these veterans, that had been around the league for so long, like for me, like I when Dave came on board in Tampa, like I made sure I was going to lunch with Dave. I was going to happy hour with Dave because I want to hear all the story. I want to know what was it like in 84, in 88 in the NHL. Like, I want to know all the stories because he's been at that point, he's been in the league for 20 years, I think. So I made sure that, when Andy went to shower, I was around. I followed him around just so I can like, hear stuff, and he was a lot of fun and a great leader.
What were the craziest habits he still had from being an old school guy? Like 6-pack after the game in his stall type stuff? Like what were the craziest old school habits that were still wearing off?
They weren't in his stalls. But they weren't too far.
The trainer's room, Biz.
Yeah, Dave was the only one that had his own little cooler on the plane. And we weren't allowed to touch it. If I wanted a beer, I had to ask the stewardess. I couldn't ask Dave.
I just hopped on YouTube quick and typed in LeCavier fights. He fought Chara.
Twice.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's like, Chara hits somebody, goes in and cross-checks him. It's like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, I think he fought Sutton too, like Andy Sutton.
Fought John Erskine.
Marty, you played for Torts for quite a few years, and obviously he's, I wouldn't say controversial, but well-known throughout the league. What's something about him that's maybe misunderstood or people don't realize about Torts?
Well, the way Torts is perceived, as a coach is totally the opposite as a human, like he's calm and, can have great conversations and caring. He cares about people, and when you guys see him like being hard on guys, like he's just trying to get them to another level, like me and Torts had plenty of battles. But for me, the way I was brought up, my dad was strict, but he was fair. He was loving. But he was demanding and he wasn't afraid of coming down on me. Torts was like that. So for me, I was used to that tough love a little bit, but but hold you accountable. I was used to that. So for me, Torts was a good fit.
Now you're coaching, okay? And I'm so happy I got to grow up and play in a time when I guess cell phones were coming around, but there was no social media, there was no internet, and on your phone at least. And we're out to dinner, we're always talking to each other. There's no phones in the room, and now it's just different. And does that stuff like get to you as a coach? No phones in the room, like guys be hanging out together, like because naturally kids are just more on their phones now. It's just a different age group.
Oh yeah, no, it drives me nuts, I mean, and I see it, with, my family, sometimes we're out to dinner and our kids take the phones out. I'm like, no, let's just talk to each other, whether if they're with their cousins or whatever, it's the same. I mean, it's, I can't blame them. I mean, I think it's a problem everywhere. I think You look at I always have my kids look at their screen time, and I could keep a tab of the screen time, so.
An ugly number.
Oh yeah. So if you really want to get better at something, whatever it is, watch your screen time, because that's the enemy.
Yeah.
That is.
I just remember on the bus biz, it was all us talking. Now I imagine after a game, you just see the guys on the phone.
Watching Slapshot for the 6,000th
Dave
time.
Andrechuk would be puking.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but now like we had. I mean, I came in the league. There was no I didn't have a cell phone. I think I had the old Nokia one, and I had like 500 minutes a month or something.
Playing Snake.
And it's like, you call and you're like pretty much like, I arrive, I'm good, bye.
Don't want to go over a minute.
Don't want to waste it. Yeah, because if you get to minute 12, well, it's 2 minutes. It's not a minute 12. So
Biz would call collect, and when you say your name, he'd actually say what he needs to tell you, so he never had to pay.
We had a baby, it's a boy.
Oh, hey, easy.
That's a great commercial.
That's not a call Biz is making.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just want to quickly go back to like the end of Tampa Bay, and I know it was kind of like a bittersweet situation. Like I believe you were named captain the 2013-2014 season. The Olympic situation came up. I think that you were originally left off the Olympic team when Yzerman was part of the staff. Was there any animosity there? Did that end up leading to the trade later on? And like, I just kind of like want to hash out that situation that you had towards the end.
It played a part in that, listen, Stevie Y, I have so much respect for him, and me and Steve have a good relationship. And during that time, I think it was hard for both of us. He had to make a decision that was gonna, help the country, right? So I don't blame him for the decision that he made, but also I don't think he blames me for the decision that I made after that. I think there's mutual respect there, and I think we're probably, a lot alike. I ended up going because Stammer was hurt, and I was fortunate and win a gold medal, and I was very, appreciated of that. But I think at that point that I had already made up my mind. I always envisioned, finishing my career in New York, because, we had a house, we spent our summers in Greenwich. My wife's from here. And we would transition the kid, play a couple years in New York, transition the kids here, and now go on to the normal life. But I had nothing to push me to New York. I had nothing. I had been a successful player on the ice for the Lightning. I think the community, the fan base, they like me. I loved it there. I had nothing, no reason to leave. And emotionally, when that happened, it kind of pushed me in that direction. And at the time, my kids were 10, 8, and 5, and my 10 and 8-year-old were starting, with the hockey. It was hard. My dad would be in Florida helping us. My wife, 3 boys that played hockey, they get on plane rides to go play in Michigan, whatever, Boston, it is. And now we had a third one coming up, and it was going to be impossible to just manage that from Florida, where in New York, it was going to be much easier to drive to these places and stuff versus like always getting on a plane. And that was part of the reason. So it ended up being, I kind of got a push, and I just I executed what I always thought was going to happen in my career and finish in New York. And but to this day, me and Steve have a great relationship, and I have a lot of respect for what he's done, what he's built in Tampa. I know Brisebois has done a great job, after Steve left, but a big part of what's happened in Tampa is what, Mr. Vinnick has done, but, also what Stevie Y, did in front of Brisebois.
Were you able to quickly get over the fact that you weren't originally named to the team when Stammer went down, and then obviously you go to Olympics, you win that gold medal? Was it quick, just like it's out of the memory here, and we're just going to focus on what's going on, or was there still a little bit of bitterness there?
No, I mean, we had me and Steve had conversation through that all that time, you know, and we were trying to manage that situation, you know, from his end, from my end. It was very professional, and I don't think there was any hard feelings. Honestly, it was like doing a business deal. That's really what it was. You know, I think when it first happened, I think there was definitely emotion involved, but then after that, we just let the emotions aside, and we just, you know, I think it ended up being a great deal for Tampa. You know, they got Callahan back, and then 2 first-round pick. You know, I came in there with, you know, as a free agent, making league minimum. So for me, I didn't feel like sorry that I, you know, this is what
you held up your end of the bargain.
That's what I felt. I felt like this is where I want to finish my career, and Steve honored that, and I respect that.
At the end, you know, some guys struggle; they miss it a lot, and you're back in the game, and I'm sure it's great. But at the time, was it hard that first season away?
Yeah, you know what? It was, but like
coaching the kids finally. I guess.
jumped with my kids right away. Right, I went to the Brick.
You're at the West Edmonton Mall.
That's right. I've done that 3 times. I actually retired at the Brick.
That's where you sent the message in?
Yes.
I'm done?
Yes.
I just bought a brand new pair of Aldo shoes. I'm done in the show. It was a hell of a run.
Yeah, I actually like sent out a tweet, which I was pretty new on Twitter, and I put my phone away and I went golfing. And I came back from the round and it had blown up, but it was actually like a good thing to do it there because we were still in the mix in the Brick and I was distracted and stuff. It was awesome, you know. But to answer your question, was it hard? It would have been a lot harder if I didn't coach my kids, because I right away I was on the ice. I was coaching 3 teams, you know, and I was on the ice. I was running 6-7 practices a week, and the weekend I was traveling with the boys. You know, so how much fun is that? It was the first time too that the thing that annoyed me the most, well, not annoyed me the most, but that in the NHL you weren't allowed to drink at the hotel bar, which I understand. And now as a coach, I totally understand that. But in youth hockey, you're allowed to drink at the hotel bar.
What the dads live for.
So, you know, and the parents become like, you know, the kids and the families, they just become your team again, you know, and like, you know, you talk about the games, you talk about little Johnny and whatnot, and you socialize with them, have a few drinks, and you know, it was a lot of fun.
Play some mini sticks in the hallway. Get kicked out of the hotel.
Yeah, you have to sign those waivers before you check in.
Yeah, that's what it came to. That's it. Yeah. All the parents would be drinking in the hallway. Kids would be playing its mini sticks. All the other people staying there like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah,
a minor hockey tournament.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I cherish those times. You can't get that time. You can't buy that time. You can't get it back. So I'm so happy I did that. It was so much fun.
Yeah, Rod Brindamore, your peer, he recently said it's just like coaching kids is remarkably similar to coaching the NHL because hockey is hockey. I mean, pretty much the same sentiment. You agree with that?
100%.
Yeah.
You know, the fundamentals of the games, they're the same. You know, the game itself has rules. I'm not talking offsides. I'm not talking, you know, icing or penalties. There's just rules of fundamentals of the game that are the same. You know, whether you're 12-year-old playing or 22-year-old playing, no matter what league. Okay, so to me, like, hockey is hockey.
We just mentioned the 24 final. Obviously, you've been on both sides of a Stanley Cup final, and I like to ask guys who have been in that situation: does the joy of winning it linger more than the devastation of losing it, or not?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, winning it is unbelievable. But I've had 4 good runs, you know. So I went to 4. I've gone to 4 conference finals. I've won 2 of them. I've lost 2 of them. I've been to 2 Stanley Cup final. You know, I won 1. I lost 1. Those runs were all the same. Like, we just didn't win. You know, it's so hard. Like, there's so many things that have to come into play, but I'm proud of both those things. And honestly, like that, I know when we won, it's unbelievable, but there's still a piece for me that I was sad it was over. Even after winning, I was sad it was over because we're all going to go a different direction, and the life that your day to day, your camaraderie, it's going to have to take a break here for 3 months. So whether you win or lose, you always have that moment of like it's over, But the journey, and I hear that all the time, is way more, gratifying than the destination, and that's I've cherished those journeys and deep runs, and it's sad when it's over. No matter, even obviously when you win, you're not as sad, but like when you win, that you'll never play with the same 20 guys. There's always going to be a guy that's going to leave or two. It's never going to be the same. So you get pretty close to your team when you make deep runs. That, whether you win the last game or lose the last game, it's the last time that your 20 guys will be on the ice together.
I was just going to ask quickly at the start, you said you were involved a little bit with private equity when you first retired. Are you still doing that? What made you so interested in the money market? And did you go to do anything in college with that?
No, I was, it's funny because now you make me think of Merle's, because I was thinking of Jeff Hamilton. You guys know Jeff Hamilton?
I don't.
Jeff Hamilton married a girl from Greenwich as well. I went to college with his brother, Jason, at Vermont. And so I know Jeff for a long time. And I know Merles and Jeff are friends because Merles used to come. Me and Jeff used to skate at Nelson Peltz, a very generous Nelson Peltz. He had a rink. His kids were playing, great family, and he would let pros come and skate there, not too far from Greenwich. And Merles would come. And so I met Merles a long time ago. Everybody rides. Yeah,
everybody rides.
You used to say that back then.
Well, it's funny. You'd be at the Peltz's working out, and he's like, this guy's a savage on the ice. Merle's is getting off the ice trying to get a car service from the Peltz's into the city to go rip it up. So it was totally different focuses, I think, during those trips. But that place sounded amazing. There was like cottages right around the arena, right on the property.
Yeah, what a place. And very kind. Nelson Peltz allow us to go there and work on our game, and it was awesome. But if you ever talk to Merles, ask him about the Dragon Club, because that was it was a smaller rink, but we played 3-on-3, and Merles and Jeff Hamilton, they always loaded up the Dragon Club, and they knew how to play. It's like it looked like they would go sneak in at night and practice. They use the board, they rim it around. I mean, before you know it, you're down 5-0 against the Dragon Club. So
Merle's actually, a couple years ago, Merle's was coaching kids who ended up at BK Selects now, I think, and he loved it. I mean, he's definitely a hockey mind like that. He's into that stuff.
I saw him there too, I think. But so me and Jeff Hamilton kind of retired around the same time, and we're just in Greenwich, and we talked one day, and we came up with that. We partnered with another one of his friend that went to Yale, Keith McCullough. This is where you came at Edge IRA back then. So we kind of used them as the backbone a little bit because we're not financial experts, and Edge Eye is a company. It's an analytic company that have a bunch of analysts that can help us vet companies. So what we did is we raised money with some of our friends, teammates. And nothing big. We're like a small version of like a Shark Tank, so to speak, And then companies came in and we vetted them, and we invested in some and passed on many. But the process was fun at the time because it wasn't 9 to 5. I think our connections and their connections would allow us to connect with some people that had cool ideas. Mostly we like to stay in the sports industry because I felt like that's what we knew, but we ventured out of that a little bit. And it just kept us connected, again, like being part of a team. It was fun. I learned a lot. And to this day, the investments are still going. And a lot of, ex-NHL guys are still playing or investing in that, and it's been going well.
Marty, when you did win the cup, how did you celebrate? What did you do with your day with the cup?
Well, I took it to Vermont, I had a place that at that time in 04, I moved to Greenwich the summer of 05. For in 04, I was still in Vermont. I would train at a university there. So I took it there. I had a band, The Samples. I think you know The Samples?
I'm familiar with them a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And 2 weeks before the party, I did a photo shoot with Trey Anastasio from Fish, who went to Vermont. And we did a photo shoot for ESPN, the magazine. So I told Trey, hey, if you want to bring, I hired The Samples, and he knew Sean Kelly, the lead singer. If you want to come, bring your significant other. So they showed up, him and Fishman and Paige and Trey showed up, and they actually got on stage and sang with Sean for 3-4 songs. So it was a lot of fun. Had 150 people, family, friends. Took it, did a signing during the day for the local kids. And then 2 weeks later, I was able to take it to my hometown as well. I got it for 2 days.
I see a stick behind you. It reminds me to ask you about the yellow synergy. I feel like you made the yellow synergy famous. And when it got discontinued, weren't you still using it? Like, had you stocked up like 5-6 dozen of those things?
He's got them in his office.
Oh, he's got one back there.
No, this is a Warrior.
Oh, it's a Warrior. Okay. Did you use the yellow synergy at one point, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I did. But, eventually they just stopped. I think people remember me because at one point, like, I was the only one that was left with it. When the yellow synergy came out, I think they came out with an orange and a yellow. And that's the year it was my my third year in Tampa, where I scored 30, went to the All-Star game. And, the following year we win the cup. And, now they marketing wise, they want to, change the colors. And now it's another different stick and different style. Obviously, I get it. But I'm like, no, I just want the yellow stick. I want the yellow synergy. So they kept making it for a long time. I think they made it for me for 7 years maybe, but eventually they stopped.
A little bit of a change of a topic, but it just got into my mind. The clip of when you got hired as Canadiens head coach, then you're on the ice with Caulfield. He ends up scoring the goal exactly like the film had caught you guys in practice. Pretty cool to see actual evidence of a coach like helping a player out. And he took off ever since you've been there. Has that been a relationship that's been fun for you to work with, in being that he's undersized guy, like similar to your game?
Oh yeah, no, Cole's special. Like, the thing with Cole is he's so contagious. Like his enthusiasm is off the chart. Like, he just comes to the rink no matter what, and he just brings everybody, with a positive energy, listen, I'm proud of what Cole has done, since I've been there. I can't say that, it's my doing. At the end of the day, I think coaches, we take care of the people that take care of the team. I don't take care of the team. The players take care of the team. I take care of the people that take care of the team. And that's what I did with Cole. I just gave him a platform, go play. I know he's not a finished product. I know there's holes in his game, but like every 21, 22-year-old have holes in their game. I had plenty of holes in my game. He's scoring goals. And it's not something I'm going to teach Cole how to do. I'm not going to teach Cole how to score goals. Can I help him in getting more scoring chance? I think I can. Can I round up his game? Yeah, for sure. But his whole life, Cole has been scoring goals. Okay. So now, that was a big reason why he was drafted as high as he did. Right. So for me, my job was to give him the platform, to go try and score goals. And we're going to, trying to work on the rest of your game while you keep doing that.
Marty, I think our producer, Mikey G, wanted to jump in for a sec. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, speaking of undersized guys, I'm super high on your second round pick, Lane Hudson of BU. Like, what are your thoughts on his game? What is his ceiling? Any talks of him leaving BU to come play for you guys?
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, spill the tea. Let's go. I want the gossip.
Martin.
You're
going to get a tapering charge on St. Louis.
No, he's had a great freshman year, and you see him play at the Worlds right now a little bit. He's not a big guy, but, he's got a lot of deception and a lot of, unpredictability. He's very sneaky that way. I think time will tell what his ceiling is. It's hard for me to put a ceiling on. I think if anything, if you want to have a career in the NHL, you got to make sure that your floor is high enough. So for me, as he, he's going to go back to BU and probably, keep getting stronger, and keep getting better as a player. So when you turn pro, you're turning pro. There's no going back to college. It's time. So you got to be, for young players like that, making sure that their floor is high enough, so that you can have a runway to show me how high your ceiling can be.
Quickly, I was going to ask, do you have to be careful of every word you say now that you're the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens? Do you feel like you have more of a filter now than ever?
Yeah, a little bit. It's tricky, right?
Yeah.
But I think for Hudson, I think he's a great pick, and I think he's got, a great ceiling. The NHL is the hardest league to play in. And, I'm confident that, with, the staff that we have, and I think the belief in how we want to play and how we do things, I'm confident that Lane's going to have an opportunity here to show us his ceiling in Montreal.
I just meant more so in general, not him, but I understand what you're saying.
You got to be careful and how you say it. Everybody's going to, take it out of context, and you have to be careful. But, for what I see right now, I like what I see.
Marty, do you think front offices and scouts still put too much emphasis on size? We've had so many, quote unquote, undersized guys have tremendous success in the league. Is there still too much stock put into that?
Well, I think it's a balance, Ari. You look at the playoffs. Size is important. I think you're not gonna. It's gonna be hard to beat Carolina, Dallas if you don't have some heaviness and size. It doesn't mean that you need to have 20 guys that are heavy with size. But to me, it's a balance. But you need a little bit of everything. And if your size, is not, if the guys that lack size, then they better have courage. Because it's everybody's game. So I don't mind. You're talking to a guy that. I'm not very big, so I don't mind small players. Okay, but you better play with courage out there.
Well, I don't have anything else. I appreciate all this time. I don't know, Biz, did you have anything else for him?
No, we really appreciate your time. I feel like we could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. You're such an interesting guy, and we wish you the best of luck with the Montreal Canadiens. And we're hoping down the road, after you guys eventually lift the Stanley Cup, maybe you'd come back on and share some of those stories with us.
Well, thank you so much, Marty. It's been awesome.
Yeah, this has been tremendous.
Again, continued success. You guys are a lot of fun. Biz, do a great job in TNT, and obviously the Pink Whitney stuff is pretty amazing. So good job, guys. RA, Grinnell, good to see you guys again.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you very much. Phil always says hello.
I know you got a heavyweight and Wi-Fi. If you ever need some extra muscle around, maybe sign me to a PTO fourth line. You never know. I'd love to play for the Habs.
Yeah, it'd be good in the locker room.
Yeah.
As long as you want to stay there.
Yeah.
Just don't step foot out of that room.
With the hot dogs you guys got in the press box, I'll be glad to head up there.
I'm surprised we didn't talk about Andre. Oh my gosh.
Oh, the Cookie Monster?
Next time.
You play with Andre?
Yeah, I did. It was honestly one of the most fun experiences I ever had playing. Every single day, he'd just be doing voices and noises and nonstop hilarity.
How tired would this guy be at night, right? Because from the time he wakes up, he's in character. He's in character from the time he wakes up. He's in character till the time he goes to bed.
I remember, and then for how he was personally and outgoing, leading up to a night he knew he had to fight, he would get anxiety from it. He told us about it when we interviewed him, but you could tell it affected him, and then he was able to just still put on a show for the boys. It was just great. So
I grew up Andre was my birth year as well. So I grew up playing against Andre. Okay, he lived up north, like 20 minutes north of me, and he was big. He was the best player in the league at 10 years old. He had the slap shot, right? Because he always asked Torch to put him on the 5-on-3. Yep. we did 5-on-3 practices, and he would like lurk at the blue line and just like look at Torch.
He'd take a one-timer and just.
Hey, he was probably the same. He was probably the same size too. At 10.
He would break the goalie's hands when he was 10, 12 years old.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know you're a good golfer, so you could be his guest in a sandbagger one of these summers when we get you out on the links. Cole Caulfield already tried us, and we dummied him and Zegras. So another member of the Habs can have a shot at the title.
Do any of you guys take the train from Boston to?
Yeah, that's how I take it whenever I go.
Yep. Okay, so when you get to Greenwich, do you see the golf course on the left?
Yeah, is that your track?
That's our track.
What is that called?
Innis Arden.
Innis Arden. Okay.
1905.
Looks nice.
1905. We redid the clubhouse.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's some of the top golf, like Greenwich, that area, like Westchester. It's unreal.
No, it's great. I mean, it's like 6,200 par 70. I have a member starts tomorrow.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, anytime. I mean, not anytime, but I would love to. I love golf. I'm actually going to Pinehurst at the end of the month.
Yes. Enjoy yourself.
Sharpen those tools, buddy, because we got an 8-game win streak right now.
What's your index? I know Whit is like a plus, right? You're plus.
No. I'm a 1 right now. I'm a 1. Biz is. This has been talked about often. Biz is a legitimate 14 handicap.
14?
I give him a shot every hole, but the easiest 4 holes, the par 3s usually, and. Every round, he has 4 to 5 holes where he's like even par, and they're all net birdies if they're par 4s. And then the rest of the holes, he's kind of like picking up. Would you agree, Biz, or
what
no?
He's trying to tell you is I'm the most clutch golfer on the planet since Tiger Woods' prime, is what he's trying to tell you.
At the right time.
And he's a great putter, and he rolls it, and I can't putt, so it's a good combo.
So I can't wait to get you and Andre Waugh as partners out in the sandbagger, and we're going to have some fun, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm curious what Albie's handicap is. Now, how do you guys, what's the format? Do we play off your ball?
Well, we kind of make up the rules as we go, so I guess we'll let you know on the course.
Yeah, ask Ryan Malone. We took him and Armstrong down, and Bugsy's still bitching that he didn't know the rules.
That's why we call it the sandbagger, baby.
Your handicap?
Yes.
Yeah, you play off, so stroke. So like, whatever your handicap is, you'd stroke off me unless you're lower. Like we had Ray Whitney on. I got shots from him. Because he's like a +1.
What's your record?
It depends on whatever your handicap is.
What's your guys' record?
We've won 8 matches in a row, and I want to say we are
14-6, I think.
No, 14 and 5. 14 and 3 or 14 and 4. We've only lost
14 and 4, 14 and 5, I think, because Portnoy was number 19.
And you guys play 18.
No, Sandbagger 17 tonight.
We don't even know what our record. It doesn't matter what our record
is. Maybe we're 9 and 5. Maybe we're 9 and 5. I don't know, dude. This just shows that we just dial in when the time comes.
You're the private equity number guy. We're not the numbers guy. We just win the sandbaggers, buddy.
How's Bugsy's game?
Good, but he was being a bitch that day. He was all whiny. Biz beat him up on the course.
Yeah.
Biz wears a hockey jersey to these matches a lot, so there's certain clubs that are like, I don't think so, Mr. Bissonette.
And you guys play 18?
Yeah, 18-hole match.
All right.
That interview was brought to you by CHEVY EV. You know we've been part of the CHEVY EV family, but we've got big news. The first ever all-electric Silverado is officially Barstool's most valuable truck. We got the chance to see this thing in experience, and let me tell you, it's a game changer. Available 400-mile range, GM estimated on full charge. Over 10 feet of length in the bed with the multi-flex tailgate combined with the multi-flex midgate. A large 17-inch diagonal display screen. It can tow up to 10,000 pounds of max towing. 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds with WOW mode. Up to an impressive 785 foot-pounds of torque. Head over to Chevy.com to learn more.
Huge thanks to Martin St. Louis for jumping on with us once again. Like I said, me and G were happy enough to interview him many years ago, but hopefully you enjoyed that. Canadiens fans, good things ahead with that guy behind the bench. We got some cup notes here. Biz, I mentioned earlier, TNT. They're going to be carrying all 7 games of the Stanley Cup Finals. Also, if you have True TV, all the games are going to be on there and on TBS as well, except for Game 5. This is the first time it's been an all-cable Stanley Cup since '94. I mentioned the Game 1 is Saturday, and then basically, let's see, Game 2 Monday, Thursday the 8th, Saturday the 10th, Tuesday the 13th if necessary, Friday the 16th if necessary, and if it goes 7, Monday the 19th. So it's not every other night, a couple of 3-day breaks in there, but either way, it starts Saturday, 3 o'clock. I'm sorry, Saturday, June 3rd at 8 o'clock. But we got to see who likes what.
You just put my mind in a pretzel.
I know, buddy.
With that scheduling.
I feel like fucking
I was
a
like,
beautiful
they're
mind.
doing a 3 o'clock Stanley Cup final game. We can't get 3 o'clock games all season. They're doing a final game at that time.
Like, yeah, a beautiful mind. with all
6
these
a.m.
fucking
so the
numbers.
people in China can watch.
Yeah, no,
and Merle's.
I'm
no,
gonna be
you're going to be there.
stateside. I'm going to be stateside. I'm
That's
going to
right.
be boots on the ground.
So whatever RA just said, just go look it up online yourself.
Well, no, we used to every other night, but there's a couple 2-day layoffs in there. But either way,
I think they're trying to avoid the NBA Finals and going
Good
back
move.
to TNT covering it. I can't be more excited. We got Hank there, Ace, Liam, obviously Wayno. We're going to have special guests. We're going to be on site for every single game. We're going to be doing it inside on the concourse because all these places are very warm and we're going to be sweating our bags off through our suits. I want to say that might have been a Wayne call to move it inside. So shout out to the veteran. And we're pumped. So all you fans, we're going to be seeing you guys. And as far as the Chiclets and Game Notes crew, I think that you guys are going to be there at least in each city once. Talk to me, G.
Yeah, nothing's really too set in stone just yet, but it looks like we'll be in Fort Lauderdale for Game 4 and then Vegas for Game 5. Different crews kind of in each city, but regardless, we'll have boots on the ground in each city at one point.
Yeah, RA has a warrant out in each state for his arrest, so we've agreed to put an anklet on him for his trips there. So we
Irish
just have
Rolex.
to get that worked out, and then we're going to figure out our situation. So, Merles, we have a liver transplant in each city prepared for you. As far as Army, he's pretty good. He's usually responsible. And Whit,
Shine
we're
the
going to
clubs
get you
up.
lined up for golf, buddy.
Yep.
We're going to get you lined up for golf. We're going to take care of you.
And don't forget to watch the preview show before the real preview show on TNT, Game Notes Daily. We'll have a show every game day at noon. Me, Army, Grinnell, special guests. You guys will probably be popping in, but make sure you watch that before you watch Biz on TNT.
You know who the actual mixer is Matthew Tkachuk. We should call
The human
him Matthew
mixer?
Tkachuk. He's the human mixer. He's the mixologist at this point, given his net front presence and what he's
There
doing.
it is, mixologist.
He's the.
All right, guys, before we go any further, let me tell you about Top Legends. With Jaromir Jagr as an ambassador, Top Legends will be celebrating ice hockey legends through their commemorative, one-of-a-kind value notes. Each series that Top Legends releases will feature 7 commemorative value notes with 7 different legends. These will be issued over a period of 7 years, with one value note released annually. In 2023, Top Legends starts with Ice Hockey Legends series, but expect more to come involving other sports and arts legends. Each value note has its serial number, making it truly one of a kind, giving you a chance to collect the whole ice hockey series with the same unique number. Limited issue with no future reissue. Product sold to people 18 years or older. Register at Top Legends to make sure you don't miss out on anything big. Subscribe to the Top Legends YouTube channel and watch the launch event from Vegas on June 28th. Top Legends, TOPLEGENDS. You can register at Top Legends to make sure you don't miss out on anything big. Subscribe to the Top Legends YouTube channel to watch the launch event from Las Vegas on June 28th. Follow them at Instagram.com/toplegends.com.
And Merles, I'll tell you this about Top Legends. They could be getting us one of our biggest guests in podcast history. So stay tuned for that. We love Top Legends.
Top Legends.
I think folks are waiting to see who we like. Vegas and Florida, they had 2 games this season. Vegas won one game 4-2. They got an empty netter. Florida won the other one 2-1. Interestingly enough, Bobrovsky and Aiden Hill were the goalies in each game, which is kind of funny how it ended up, considering the Aiden Hill situation. He was like 4th on the depth chart. But Whit, who do you like and why, and how many games?
Ooh, yeah, Ryan. Who do you like?
I got to apologize right now to all Florida Panthers fans because I haven't picked you one friggin' series.
Oh no, you're doing it too.
And I'm doing it. And
no.
I love Vegas, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if they get it done. But I just this run, there's something about what's happened. Merle said it earlier. I'm actually convinced that luck is way more of a factor than anything else. I don't care. Skill, power play, veteran leadership. It's just luck. Like, the Penguins lost to the fucking Blackhawks, dude. That's why the Panthers they're even in the playoffs. Marchand breakaway, Game 5. Pastrnak hits the knob, Game 7 OT. It's just nonstop luck. They have it on their side. Can it switch? No doubt. And this layoff does worry me, but I look at both teams being this evenly matched. I think Vegas has a better D. I think overall I'd rather have Florida's forwards, but then it's Bobrovsky. So if he does somehow slow down and all of the good juju he had going somehow ends with the layoff, I guess I wouldn't be shocked. But at the same time, what he's doing and how dialed in he is, I can't picture them getting by him and beating them 4 times. It's like the Panthers right now are my Stanley Cup champion pick in 6 games.
Wow. Florida in 6. By the way, the line, Vegas is a slight favorite, minus 130. Florida is plus 110. And in that vein, we'll go to you next, Merles.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great series. Last year it was Colorado-Tampa. I 100% wanted Colorado as I was part of their franchise before, and Tampa had already won.
You mentioned that more than the Quebec Pee Wee tournament for Whit.
More than me with the town.
So this one is, I want both these teams to win. I've enjoyed watching both of them. I've hit on them a bunch of times, but I can't get over this Vegas decor. I think they are great. I like the 3-line scoring in Vegas. Now even the 4th line's getting involved. I like the home ice advantage in Vegas. I love both. They might be my 2 favorite vacation cities as well. It's going to be a great finals.
We know that.
Just say Vegas.
Yeah, I got to go Vegas in 6.
Vegas in 6. Biz Nasty, what do you have for us, buddy?
I want to know how you feeling about the craps tables before we even go.
Hey,
how you feeling? Where's your confidence level at?
I've been resting up. I've been off the booze. I've been taking like 2,000 milligrams of milk thistle for my liver. You know, I'm feeling good. I'm ready. Had a nice week with.
You're biohacking before the trip.
Yeah, I'm ready to go here.
You should be biohacking with the way that you feel. You should be getting in the cold plunge, the sauna. You should be getting a blood transfusion. I'm feeling how Whit's feeling, and you can't mess with this mojo. And a funny story is I texted Portnoy to ask him if he's going to be coming into these games in Florida, and he says no. I think he's back up north for at least the summertime. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I saw Walt Tkachuk at Game 4 in Florida. He attended it, and after Boston was up 3-1, Walt goes, hey, I'll see you Game 6 back here. And Portnoy goes to him, he goes, we both know that's not happening. Well, Florida's been 11-1 since. And I just can't go against the mojo that Florida has. I think goaltending is going to get it there. I think the rest is going to be very valuable for some of the guys they've had banged up. And I just can't deny what Matthew Tkachuk is doing and how he's leading this group. And I think that he's going to be a Stanley Cup champion. And it's going to be a remarkable story. At least I'm going to look like an idiot based on my comments earlier saying I'd rather put my cock and balls in a blender than see these guys make playoffs. Keep in mind, a few people who listen to the podcast on a regular basis, I did rescind that comment saying what Matthew Tkachuk was inspiring enough for me not to put my cock and balls in a blender. So here we are in 6, Florida Panthers. Love everything that Vegas is doing. The smart money's there, but you can't mess with the mojo.
Our producer, Mikey Grinelli. Who do you like and how many games?
I think that the Panthers' luck runs out. I just think there's just too many games in between here. The momentum is going to die. Shout out to our Vegas insider, Migsy, who has completely convinced me to take the Vegas Golden Knights in 7 games.
Gee, you got Vegas in 7. As for me, you know, Biz, during the playoffs, Aiden Hill, he's been great, a terrific story, couple shutouts, but I don't remember too many games where he had to save their bacon. You know, he's been great, outstanding. Whereas Bobrovsky, if Florida didn't have him, they probably wouldn't be in this position right now. I think that continues. They're just going to keep chugging along. I don't see Bobrovsky getting outdueled by Aiden Hill. It's not a disrespecting. It's just Bobrovsky's so much in that zone. And obviously, I got a fucking 40-1 ticket on Florida, so I'm going to stick with that. And I think they wrap it up in 6 at home. they're going to be up 3-2. They're not going to want to go back to Vegas. So Florida in 6 at home. That's what I got.
Here's okay. So I want Whit had to take off because he's not feeling great. I want to know X factors here. And RA, do you think there's any possibility that Bruce Cassidy would at any point, if maybe he doesn't feel he's getting the goaltending, quickly look to Quick?
Wow.
A guy who has that experience. You don't need him for a long time. You just need him for a good time.
I don't know. And, there was really no opportunity to go to him in the last series. I mean, they weren't getting blown out at all. And Hill didn't have any, 3 or 4 bad goals in a row. I mean, I would be shocked if we do, but I think it would only be in one of those situations. Not only, he's obviously an older guy, but he's not fresh at all. He hasn't played a game in however many weeks or months. And I know some guys can turn on. It's almost like a muscle memory type thing, but I don't know. I think that would be
take
a huge
one
roll
conversation with Sean Burke, and he'd be playing back to his Vezina standard. That's the difference. Sean Burke is the goalie whisperer.
Right, but the goalie whisperer versus Father Time. I don't know who wins that battle. You know what I mean? No, I'm not. I got all the respect in the world for Quickie.
Reference. I loved it.
Yeah, all right, go ahead. So yeah, I would be shocked if we see Quick in a starting role, unless obviously not talking about injury or whatever. We never want to see anyone get hurt. I don't think we'll see it unless it's like mop up time or if Aiden Hill gets hurt. So
all right, guys, before we go any further, this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Getting to know yourself is a lifelong process. This is because we're always changing and always growing. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and self-understanding to help you discover your best self. BetterHelp connects you with licensed therapists who can take you on the journey of self-discovery and meets you where you are. Sometimes we become so busy that self-care can be brushed to the side. On Chiclets, we talk about it all the time. We're traveling, we're flying, we're away from our families. You need help, you're feeling down, you call somebody. That's when you use BetterHelp. Therapy, however, can be an effective way to give yourself time you deserve to focus on you. Ready to put yourself first? If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/chiclets today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/chiclets.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it either way, but any final thoughts on the series before we move it on to a coaching hire we're going to talk about?
I think Ivan Barbashev is the X Factor. Biz asked for X Factor.
Great call,
Barbashev.
Great call, G.
I think Barbashev will definitely be the X Factor here.
I didn't even give you my X Factor yet. Who do you got, Merles?
Wow. Barbashev's a great one. I don't know if I can top that. I mean, I don't know if can you consider Carlson an X Factor when he's got 9 goals already, plays power play, penalty kill, does it all. He's my guy. I'm gonna go on him, and I might even I have my Jack Eichel Conn Smythe that I don't really love at this minute. I'm gonna throw a little bit on William Karlsson too, plus 750 on the Conn Smythe now. So I'll have Karlsson 750 and Eichel 750.
Biz, as for an X Factor, it's a non-player thing. I think the coaching, Paul Maurice, his wealth of experience. He's been around for so long. No, not.
I love these picks, Ari. You're humming right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Butch, a great coach. He's gotten 2 teams to the Stanley Cup the last few years here, but I think Maurice has way more experience, and I think that may also help Florida in 6 as well. So,
what are the Vegas odds that he gives like an any given Sunday type speech? You got to claw for that inch. You think he gives a banger pregame pep talk where the cameras are in there and we're all just like, oh my God, I got chills, I got goosebumps. Paul Maurice is the savior.
We don't know what's going to happen, obviously, Biz, but hopefully this will put to bed like the whole retread talk, coaching retreads, blah, blah, blah. The reason these guys get hired is because they're fucking track record. I mean, what they've done, the guy's got a pretty goddamn good record. He just got this team to the Stanley Cup, his first Stanley Cup final, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, 0-2, he lost to Detroit. But, I mean, yeah, some guys you don't want to see hired for your team. Some guys you do. And that's going to lead us to our next story. The New York Rangers, it hasn't been announced yet, but they will be hiring.
Can I give you my X Factor?
Yeah. No, you did.
No, I was saving it.
I got revved up for my big scoop here. Go ahead, buddy.
Lamborghini.
Ooh.
The Lamborghini for the Florida Panthers, who had a big goal late in the series for the Florida Panthers. Vroom, vroom, skirt, skirt. Fourth line has to be huge, and we know what Vegas brings, right? You gotta have those fourth lines chipping in, and I feel like that little rodent, along with Cousins and Bennett, they're all serpents, the hyenas. What are those fish called that eat flesh? Piranhas.
Oh yeah,
Little piranhas on the fourth line. That's gonna be the Lamborghini in the finals, and he is my X factor.
Biz, I had it set at minus 220 that your X factor would have just been the Misfits as a whole. Because I feel like that has been your storyline with the Vegas Golden Knights since the playoffs started. Is the Misfits,
mojo
the Misfits,
trumps
the Misfits.
the Misfits. The mojo trumps the Misfits. Say it with me now. The mojo, trumps the Misfits. Bring the Stanley Cup to South Florida. There's a new champion in town. Doodle-doo-doo-doo-doo. I'll see you at the elbow room. Doodle-doo. Yeah, the elbow.
Yeah, fucking gonzo.
The best $4 beer you can find in the world. The elbow.
I am going to be butt chugging Big Deal Brews out of my cornhole at the elbow room on my days off in South Florida.
All right, Biz, I just mentioned the Rangers, they don't have a coach right now, but this week they will be naming Peter Laviolette as their head coach. I've got it on pretty good authority.
Whoa, you're calling it.
I throw
the rumor boys are back.
No rumor. No rumor. I'm not in the rumor boy union. I threw a little tease tweet out last week. Would Peter Laviolette be a good coach for the Rangers? And inquiring minds want to know. And he's going to be the head coach. It's going to be named this week.
So do we get another Chiclets has got the main coaching job? Like I got Boston last year. You got the Rangers scoop this year?
Well, we're going to get to that. RA, you have to have some form of punishment if he, in fact, is not named. Gee, step in here. I feel like the Twitter fans.
I think if he's not named coach, I think you got to grow the skullet back for the rest of the summer.
I love that idea.
The fans love the skullet.
Wow.
I love it too. The Warthog is back.
Holy shit. I don't think I have any weddings or anything where I'd have to couldn't look like an asshole like that. Wow. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let me just think. Yeah. I'll check my calendar and I'll get back. But yeah, without knowing offhand if I have any major events where I'd look like a total asshole with a skullet, if Laviolette does not become the next Rangers coach, then I'll grow the COVID skullet back.
Wow, I'm looking forward to seeing the COVID skullet. Hopefully, Drury can hear this and renege the contract.
He's like, oh, that little fuck, I'm going to screw him.
Just so he can get the skullet. You got to hire an experienced coach. And I think that he deserves a shake with that team. He's got a Stanley Cup. Didn't he win one with Carolina?
Yeah, he did, and he was in one. He brought Philly back in 2010, and he took Nashville. They lost to the Penguins as well. So, 3 of the 4 or 5 teams he's coached, he's brought to the Stanley Cup. Merles, what do you think of the hire when it happens?
I've been a Rangers guy the last few years, but Laviolette sent me down my last send down ever in the NHL. So I'm at a crossroads here. I may have to forgive him, or I will have to drop the Rangers. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this one.
Either way, he better pack his toque because our buddy Weeksy had reported a while back there's going to be 2 outdoor games played at MetLife Stadium next season. No dates yet, but it's going to be the Rangers versus the Islanders as well as the Devils versus the Flyers. So, they do typically do these things like February, March after the Winter Classic. So, a couple of outdoor games.
That's awesome. So they're gonna build it out, but they're gonna do 2 different games out of the same thing that's built. Or they doing it at different times
where the Jets and Giants play. That giant football stadium. It's a pain in the ass to get home from.
So they're going to do it on back-to-back days?
Well, they haven't announced the logistics or time yet, but there's definitely going to be 2 outdoor games at MetLife featuring those 4 teams.
Got to imagine they're going to do it on separate days just for the money. You know what I mean?
Well, that's obvious. I'm imagining they're going to put it up. There'll be a game one day, a day off or 2, and then another one on day 4. I mean, if you're putting the thing up and they're doing a month apart, I can't see that happening.
Yeah, it's not like it's the baseball season, like in the summertime or whatever, where they could keep the thing up all the whole thing, like what Fenway does. But they have all the high school kids come in and college kids come in because there's no baseball season. I should say not baseball season. So
it's the first time they're ever going to do 2 different games at the same venue, which is smart. They should do that more often.
Yeah. Shout out
Be
to
cool to
Weeksy
have
for
like
the
a
scoop.
like a 4-team like mini tournament or something, where they get like a big cash prize.
That's
money on the board.
I want to say it was Wayne talking about that's how they should do All-Star game.
Well, I'd say the All-Star
They
game.
should-
That'd be perfect.
The All-Star game in Toronto, make it like it used to be. Offer a bigger cash prize, but make it to where you have 3 goalies, 8D a team, and 4 lines, and enough with the skills comp. Do like a gala. Do a fun charity concert the night before, so at least the players will be like, "Oh, this will be awesome! I get to go dress up, bring the wife," and then the next day, all you got to worry about is one game. And then if there's a big enough cash prize, the guys take it seriously and they'll actually put it into second or third gear rather than showing up buckled and keeping it in neutral the whole night.
By the way, that's what nobody's talked about when the Panthers turned this whole thing around at All-Star game. And you remember who got the MVP of the whole thing?
Chucky.
He
It
put
all
on a
started
show
at the
that,
elbow room.
Yeah, he put on a show that weekend, and it is completely snowballed.
Good call, Merles. Nice little call back there. I have
That
a
was
sign
probably when you put your future in, RA. 40 to 1.
February 10th, I put it in.
Yeah,
Everyone's
yeah,
like,
that
how many
was-
teams you have?
That's right after All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, how many teams? I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? Who else had Florida at 40 to 1 in February? Like, answer that question for me. Biz, we have a signing to report as well. Buffalo Sabres captain Kyle Oposo signed a 1-year, $2.5 million extension. He had 28 points in 75 games last year. Huge leadership role with the team as well. I mean, it seemed like a no-brainer for both parties, right, Biz?
I was hoping they were going to sign him to at least 1 or 2 years at a low number. He gets to stay home, continue to lead that team, and then also make a lot less money than he was on his last deal where, he's plays a limited role now. He's a 4th, maybe 3rd line guy at some points in the year, but now he could focus on leading, not have to worry about taking too much out of the salary, and they can go sign better players to make their team better. And then, I mean, they have enough homegrown talent where next season is going to be very vital for them. I think with goaltending now that's came in, they're going to have to find a way to at least sneak in a playoff spot. I think it's playoffs or bust now at this point for Buffalo. Enough of the future's bright, man. Their future's bright.
Would be nice to
We've
see
seen that
Oposo.
before, so I'm not going to go against them either.
Would be nice to see Oposo get a few playoff games in Buffalo too. Like, he's been there through all the shit. Like, he's eaten
awesome.
shit for years and years and years.
Yeah, he was an
for
awesome
sure.
guy too when we sat down with him at Chiclets Cup. But I was surprised the $2.5 million. I thought he would do it just for $1 million, and like the
I
Bergeron.
thought the same too.
That's $1.5 million
why I thought
you can spend on a goalie on a get another experienced goalie in there.
Maybe that's why it was only 1 year.
Mm.
I mean, at 2 years, maybe you could have got him at $1.5 million. But
Yeah,
they
do
said,
2
hey,
years.
hey, 1
Yeah,
year.
maybe he only wanted one.
And
I was
I
just
hope-
surprised.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I hope
Biz.
Buffalo makes playoffs because they're going to need something to cheer them up. Because with Eichel going to the finals, half that city's just sucking their thumb right now. Just
And
poopy.
They'll be coming back. I mean, pretty much the same roster. I mean, Tyson Yost is RFA. Zemus, what's in Gergensons? He's RFA. I'm sorry, UFA. Vinny Hinostroza's UFA. But what's Devin Levi come in? I mean, that kid looked like a fucking veteran when he played last year. They're pretty much the same team, and they were fantastic late in the year. They should be in the playoffs next year. I'd be surprised if they're not. Biz, I believe you played with this fella. We're going to congrat longtime Coyote Michael Bodka. He officially retired after playing for Denmark in the Worlds that we just had.
Shit.
Yep, taken 8th overall in 2008. He's the highest drafted Dane ever. He played 8 seasons out in the desert. Also played for San Jose, Ottawa, and Colorado. Any memories? Anything you want to share about him, Biz? You must know.
Yeah, he was great during our playoff runs. I mean, the first 2 years we got beat in the first round, but we ended up going to that conference final, and he was a very vital piece. It sucked that he never got a deal done with Arizona, and after here, he ended up going over to San Jose, and after that, it felt like he bounced around a little bit, and that was the end. I want to say he played a couple more years overseas to finish his career, but just a hell of a skater, a true professional, a great teammate, great guy to have around. He was really close with Oliver Ekman-Larsson, especially early on. So I felt like it helped Oliver get more in the mix. So just always go back to him being a good teammate, true professional, and some very, very enjoyable years that we had. And it was a good time. So amazing career, made some good dough, had a lot of success, and go enjoy it, brother. Go enjoy it.
Well said, pal. All right, before we go any further, here's a word from our friends at Front Door. We all have that long, nagging home to-do list that we keep putting off. It's full of annoying things that need to be fixed. Dripping dishwasher, hole in the drywall, the dryer not working. Wouldn't it feel great to get it all done? Now you can, and it's easier than ever. Introducing Front Door, the all-new one-stop home repair and maintenance app. Front Door lets you video chat with experts in real time so you can diagnose the problem faster, sometimes fix it yourself on the video chat. Or Front Door will send you a list of vetted and trusted pros to come out and help solve the problem. Look, I've been saying on the show forever, I'm not a Mr. Fix-It. I'm however old I am, I don't even own a toolbox. But you know what? Front Door hooks me up. I go to them. All of a sudden, I look like the guy from Tool Time. So check them out. Once again, download the app and get a free video chat so you don't sound like a moron like me. Get that stuff fixed. With the Front Door membership, it's easy to cross things off your home to-do list and enjoy that feeling of done. So download the app now and get a free video chat. Once again, Front Door, download that app, get a free video chat. I mentioned the World Championships. Merles is our official correspondent there. Canada beat Germany for the gold. Got to say, man, the Germans have become legit on the world stage now. I mean, you got to figure they're going to even get better with Leon, Moritz. All these kids are going to stop playing hockey there. Shout out to the Latvians. They medaled for the first time ever when they beat the U.S. 4-3 in overtime for the bronze.
What a scene that was.
Never finished higher than 7th. They were 10th last year. So the Latvian Parliament got together. They had their jerseys on. They declared Monday a national holiday. The whole fucking country was out partying, just dynamite stuff. So, Merles, what do you got for us on that end?
Yeah, it was Canada, as always, 28th championship. We all expected that. And Germany, we knew Germany was good. They had a rough start to the beginning, but on game notes, we said it. We like, this German team is something to mess with. Whit made a few bucks on them, I know. Been hard. The U.S. team was pathetic. They had a great round robin, like always. They get to the semifinals. They haven't won a semifinal game since 1934. They're up in the game. Final minute, they got the wrong players on the ice. They don't play it correctly. Like, it was just a pathetic performance by them.
What do you mean they didn't have the right players on the ice?
They had a fourth line guy on the ice from college.
Fourth line guys.
Hey, I was a fourth line guy, but a fourth line guy from college has played like one pro game, shouldn't be on the ice in the last minute of a semifinal Worlds game.
Did he fuck up for it to go in the net, or was he just standing by his point?
Yeah, it's just they all did. All 5 guys in the goalie. I don't want to blame one guy, but just have the right players on the ice, and I'll be happy. And then the one guy was an NHL D on the right side. He just stood there and watched the play happen instead of going and closing him out with his stick. It was I don't like USA hockey. It was just typical USA hockey. We can't win when it matters. And then we even get to the bronze medal game, and we do the same thing. We're up in the last couple minutes. We give up a late goal to Latvia, who was an unreal story, first ever thing. I had a buddy who said it was the greatest sports moment in Latvian history in anything.
Really?
So that's why they're going so crazy. They've never done anything, nothing even in an individual sport like cross-country skiing or nothing. Robbie Schremp, friend of the program, you guys have interviewed him. He lives over there now. He met a girl when he played in the KHL there. He was sending me videos all day from the parade. It was bigger than a Stanley Cup parade. It was a wild scene. But the Latvian that got them there was the goalie, Artur Silovs. He's a Vancouver Canucks prospect. So look for him maybe next year in the Canucks jersey to make a run for the starter's job there. And the German guy that won MVP was Peterka, who was just talking about Buffalo Sabres. So that's a recap of the Worlds. Canada wins as always. U.S. blows it as always. And a really, really great story out of Latvia. Was it Fantilli in the semifinal game who had that dangle to score on U.S. to put them up 3-2?
Incredible goal.
Yeah, for
just
Canada.
Right through
that
the
was
guy's breadbasket.
Looked like McDavid. It was a McDavid-style goal.
Yeah, that was versus Latvia, right? In the semifinals, boom, boom, boom.
Against Latvia? My apologies.
Yeah, he was a good player. He took some bad penalties throughout the tournament, so I was starting to like drop him back down to number 3 in my draft rankings. And Leo Carlsson from Sweden, he's number 3, was starting to climb up. But after that goal, I flip-flopped them back. Fantilli's back to number 2, Leo Carlsson number 3.
I think everyone changed to Merles because I was seeing that a lot on Twitter too. So I threw out that poll. Who would you take second, Fantilli or Carlsson? And it was, I think, like 93% Fantilli, 7% Carlsson. I was going to say, if I put that poll out, I think 3 days earlier, I think it would have been almost 50-50.
It's wild what these world championships can do for your draft stock. I think Capo Caco had the best one of the best tournaments ever his draft year, and that bumped him up to 2 overall, didn't it?
Yep. Yeah, exactly why. And because it was before that, a few years before that, Leon Draisaitl had a huge tournament, and everybody saw what he had become. So everybody kind of thought maybe Kakko was going to be like him, including myself. I remember saying that too.
Yeah, so
But Leo Carlsson, he had like the most points as a drafted guy, pre-draft guy since Leon Draisaitl. So yeah, they're both going to be great. Bedard's going to be great. All 3 of them are going to be great. The kid from Russia is going to be great. It's going to be a fun draft.
what a perfect year
Nashville,
for
right?
us to not fall in the top 3 of drafting with the Arizona Coyotes.
Are you guys still called
what
that, Arizona? Are you guys
another-
still the Arizona Coyotes?
Yeah.
I know last
Houston Aeros.
podcast. it was
Right
still
now
up in
we
the air.
are. We're going to play one
Okay.
more year at the
Yeah.
Mullet as of right now until we solidify the land in Mesa and I become part owner of the team.
Playing
And
at a
then
high
we're
school
really,
gym.
then we're really on a trajectory to get to the moon.
There's other hockey going on as well. The Memorial Cup, of course, started last week. Peterborough Petes, Seattle Thunderbirds, Quebec Ramparts, and the host Kamloops Blazers going to battle it out. I believe, isn't Donor part owner of Kamloops Biz, if I'm not mistaken?
He is, along
is.
with a bunch of other guys. And then you have Patrick Waugh, who's the owner, coach of the Ramparts. So there's a lot of cool stories going in here. I know I got corrected, but I think I ended up actually being right with Seattle. 7 first-round draft picks on their team, so they're a stacked Western League roster. And from Ontario, the Peterborough Petes, who did they upset the London Knights, or were they the favorite to win?
No, London, I think, was the higher seed.
Yeah, but
Were
London
they?
lost their goalie, so I think once London lost their goalie, I think everyone kind of was leaning towards Peterborough.
Oh yeah, G's the London fan now. He's our insider up there.
What happened with this kid going at it with the penalty box attendant? Did you guys see that story?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you
Oh, yeah.
laughing, G? What's the background?
It was like the most hockey thing in the world, where 2 guys are just motherfucking each other 1 second, the next second they're shaking hands, being friends about it. It's just
Okay,
such
so
a
that's the
feel-good
whole
hockey
backstory?
story.
Yeah, it was before the Mem Cup, though, right? G happened before the Mem
London
Cup
wasn't in
started,
the Mem Cup.
Yeah, I think that was
so-
OHL finals.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
Quebec just beat Seattle 3-1, which was kind of an upset. So right now, Quebec is 2-0, and it looks like they'll be moving on. Peterborough's 0-2, so they're in deep trouble.
Yeah, going to be tough to get back. Biz, going back to that, what happened? I forget the fella's name on London. He got a penalty, and he was arguing with the ref and the older guy. The guy was probably in his 70s. The box attendant. He said something to the kid. And you could see the kid go fuck yourself. Like, something you wouldn't normally say to an older guy. And they were barking back and forth. And then he got out, and I think he got another penalty to come back in the box. And they were like best friends at the end of the bar, like, oh, I'm sorry, like telling stories and laughing and shit. It was like Gigi said, it was like quintessential hockey thing. They're motherfucking each other 1 minute. It's just funny because it's what, a 17-year-old kid, you telling him like an 80-year-old guy to fuck off. And a minute later, they're like beer hugging each other too. So
the wires crossed, and then
Yeah.
I like how the old guy is like, fuck, I've been that age before too.
yeah, absolutely. So
Water under the bridge. We are the best friends.
Dude, they look like, too bad they weren't beefing. I mean, maybe Bruce Boudreau would have had a front row seat for it. Did you see him at Raw the other night? Legit fucking front row. I mean, the idea that this guy's an NHL coach, like for the last 30 years, he goes to wrestling still and then sits in the fucking front row.
And he was doing a
Boudreau.
skit with
Love
them.
him.
He went
Yeah.
to the back and did a WWE skit. So he is just all in on this wrestling nonsense. I love it.
Absolute character. One more here. This is from our buddy Frank Saravalli. The NHL Players Association, they're reviewing the relationship between Maple Leafs former GM Kyle Dubas and his agent at Wasserman Agency for a potential violation of the
Lock him up. Lock him
certified
up.
agent regulation. Basically, they think it's fishy that Dubas and one player, Austin Matthews, have the same agency representing both. He had a quote from one longtime agent. This is clearly prohibited under the regulations. It is an unwritten, understood, and long-standing practice that your guy down the hall doesn't work for the other side. I'd like the NHLPA to launch an investigation and draw their own conclusion. Now, what kind of sanctions could the NHLPA actually do here? Is it just kind of a pee-pee whack biz?
RA.
Or
RA. There's a master at smelling fish, and it's Merle's right there. If it smells fishy, it is fishy, right, Merle's? You
Yeah,
muff diver. Did
it's
that
not
not
good.
smell fishy? Him saying, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere but Toronto," and all of a sudden he's all but inked that fucking contract. I think the ink's still wet, but it's pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. He will be the GM, maybe even president fucking part owner. They're handing over the keys to the Lamborghini to Kyle Dubas.
It's a mess. It's all a mess. I don't know about this guy. I don't know. I've heard enough about him the last few weeks. I
haven't heard enough. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this whole story and how it plays out. Would you not agree with having so the full-blown online argument right now seems to be, and it could be all rumor mill shit, that Dubas didn't feel like he had enough control of the wheel, where he felt like he was being undermined by Shanahan and maybe other members of the MLSC. Now, is that pretty much what you guys have heard, RA? That seems to be the story that's coming out from Dubas' side, which, if that's the case and he didn't get a chance to paint his Mona Lisa and his hands were tied in Toronto and this is how he wanted to go about the business to get out of it, all the fucking power to him. But if you go over to Pittsburgh and you get all of this control that you didn't get in Toronto, and you don't do what everyone, or at least 50% of the fan base in Toronto who thinks you're this fucking mastermind, if you go down there and you don't pull that off, I think this one was one of the all-time fleece jobs we've ever seen. And I know people don't like to associate him too much with the analytics side of things, but what other prior experience are we talking about?
Well, there's also some scuttlebutt that the Pens gig is there for the taking if he wants it, but that he might be waiting to see what Ottawa does going forward. I know Dorian's still there, but you think there's anything to that at all? I mean, is he waiting on Ottawa being a Canadian team at all?
I'll tell you what, if he waits on this one and then Pittsburgh goes and finds their guy and then Ottawa doesn't relieve Dorian of their shit, that's getting your hand caught in the cookie jar. And I've seen situations like that. I mean, there was a situation where Chaika, I believe, wanted to move on to go with the New Jersey Devils organization with that whole team of analytics that was going to end up being the New Jersey or the Brooklyn Nets, the New Jersey Devils, and then I want to say the New York Mets. So he would have been controlling like a bunch of them. So it was technically considered a job where he was getting an elevated role. So there was some discrepancy there, but wow. The balls he would have to not sign with Pittsburgh and then pull another Mongolian reversal and go to Ottawa. I mean, holy shit! Give me all of that drama. This is like a mix of Sister Wives, 16 and Pregnant, Sweet 16, fucking what's the Tiger King? Just make a big pot of concoction of drama, and Kyle Dubas is at the face of it, but. All the power to him. I hope he goes down to Pittsburgh and does sign there and changes things up because they needed a new look. And I got no ill will towards him. But if he goes there and it's another catastrophe and it was all just this kind of this like fictional character that could never actually get the fucking thing done, I think it's going to be, either way, it's going to be very entertaining. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, like, I don't know if he's overestimating himself. I don't know if being in Toronto and having the media and everyone up your ass, it gives you sort of an inflated sense of your accomplishments, because like I said, he's won one fucking series. You know, he had the lay of the land there, and they won one series in his tenure there. So I don't think that other front officers around the league are looking to like get down on the knees to give this guy, $4 or $5 million a year. I mean, he did a good job, but they never got out of the first fucking round. I mean, they did once rather. I don't know. I wouldn't be beating down his door if I was
and they got outplayed.
President. Yeah.
And as GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, you have far and above the most amount of money for resources in order to surround yourself with people who are helping you make decisions.
And
you go down and you'd be hard pressed to get a Texans Instrument calculator if you were GM of the Carolina Hurricanes, for fuck's sakes. I don't even think they pay for your cell phone.
They have an abacus in the front office.
I think Rob Brindamore lives in an RV outside the rink next to Brent Burns' RV. So, hey. Either way, this league, in quotations, this league. Let's see how this plays out. I did rumor boys back at it. I heard one. I heard a Mitchie Marner rumor. Mitchie Marner to the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't know how many whack show tinfoil hat Leafs fans have been concocting this on their cap friendly websites, but if I'm Carolina, you need bigger guys who can make plays. I don't think you want to get smaller, given that was part of your issue in my eyes, at least up front, from like getting abused and bumped around perspective in the conference finals. So
I was going to say
no,
that's what Carolina. That's the only way they're like we were talking about. There's no big free agents, so that's what they do have to do. If they have to trade for a big point guy like that, a big playmaker, but he didn't show up in the playoffs. So I don't know if that, like you said, if that's the guy to go battle.
Now you're taking on the money and the gamble that I don't think that's the solution. I think you're better off going to give Bertuzzi 7x7 and seeing how that plays out.
Somebody's gonna
agree.
Somebody's gonna. Biz, I wish we had another hour here, man. You've been fucking killing it for the last fucking 20 minutes.
I got my son. Look how tanned I am. I hit the battery pack.
Gonna look great. You're gonna look great on that TNT panel.
I gotta keep up to Hank. I actually got I'm getting my teeth done and I got a haircut. I'm flying to NYC. I found out who his guy was.
Secret battle.
And I'm getting fitted for a 4-piece suit.
Oh shit. Well, listen, folks. We don't know our schedule yet. Just pay attention to social media. We'll be announcing left, right, and center. Are we going to both cities? Definite, G? Is that pretty much a given?
I think games 4 and 5 are the goal right now.
Oh, that'd be so good. After we did that last year, going from Denver to Edmonton, that's just such a unique trip. You get to see both cities and take it all in. A dynamite idea. So we will be out there.
Yank RA's arm. He's got to go to Lickerdale in Las Vegas.
Don't be surprised to see part of Game Notes Daily out in Vegas for games 1 and 2. Don't be surprised if you run into that.
I will never be surprised to see you in Vegas, Merles, regardless of what time of year it is.
I think that we actually have to mention one quick thing that sucks before we take off. It was a mistake that happened within the team. You win as a team, you lose as a team. We had 2 really amazing interviews that were dialed in, and for whatever reason, they didn't upload properly and they weren't put into a certain area before they ended up being deleted forever. You guys are going to be disappointed when you find out the names. Ray Whitney, played with him, borderline Hall of Famer in my opinion, has been in the hockey world since being a little kid as a stick boy with the Edmonton Oilers. We lost these interviews, him and Mike Keenan. So we're going to have to do these interviews again. It sucks. Probably the most disappointed I've ever been as a member of Chiclets outside of like a death or anything ultra serious. I've reached out to Ray Whitney. We're going to redo it again. We're going to reach out to Mike Keenan. We're disappointed because, we take this job very seriously and we love when you guys get to get all these amazing stories from behind the scenes and throughout these different eras of hockey. It sucks. As I said, it was a gut punch for all of us, but we'll be better. We'll learn from it. We're going to keep chugging along. And I think we view it as when, we're finally one day done with Chiclets, this won't even be a blip on the radar. And we just have to learn from it and get better. And I know sometimes there's certain fans who are ultra passionate and then you'll start firing off on Twitter, your distaste for whose fault it might be. We don't really need that. We know as a team we messed up. We're going to look to be better. We're going to have an amazing cup finals and we're going to have some unreal banked interviews for you guys, even in the downtime. So for those of you that are ultra passionate, bear with us. We will get those interviews again. We will recreate that magic. And we appreciate the ones who have been with us from the beginning and are diehards and that stick beside us either way. So save the nasty mentions for another day. We're Gucci over here. We'll see you at the Cup Finals.
There's just quick clarification because this guy gets enough shit online as enough already. Grinelli didn't fuck up here. Yeah. If there was a scrub, it wasn't Grinelli. So leave the kid alone.
Yeah,
Gee, we all fuck up. Yeah, I know. I just don't. Want G
I appreciate you mentioning G because I feel like he gets a lot of this like. And once again, we win as a team, we lose as a team. It wasn't G who did it. I feel like he gets way too much unnecessary criticism as it is for being a guy that has to stay up wee hours, much like Fish, Quater, and Sean Apuzzo, Pasha, our entire staff, guys. We try to bring it. We try to create magic every time we do something. And as I said, I think that the hardcores and the people who are with us from the beginning will truly understand. And those of you who truly love us and support us won't be writing nasty messages towards G because I think you guys know that what he brings. And if anything, it's probably more effort than really everybody on the podcast, including myself. So thank you guys. G, we appreciate everything you do along with the other guys behind the scenes. And we love all you guys. And sucks to end the podcast like this, but we'll get the interviews again. And as I said, we're all Gucci over here.
All right. Everybody, we'll see you soon. Enjoy the Stanley Cup, and love you, Hanky.